What's this stand for?
Conservation Area Town Forest. Sorry, it's a little bit of a mouthful.
If it said CC, I would have probably figured it, but just to see, I didn't.
All right, it is 7:36 on October 18th, 2023. I'll call to order the meeting of the Ware Conservation Commission. Tonight, we've got Mike, Steve, myself, Andy Fulton on the chair, Sherry, and Mark. Ray is not able to join us tonight, so that gives us 5 of our 6 members, and off we go with a quorum and ready to do business. I think the main event of the night is to talk about the request from Parks and Rec, or at least a discussion with somebody from Parks and Rec who is not able to be here until a little bit later. So once, I believe it's Denise is able to join us, we can have that conversation. Last I saw of yesterday anyway, she did have an earlier commitment, but I assured her we'd still be going after 8 o'clock, and she should be here to address that request or discussion with us. We got a bunch of things on the agenda, I guess up front here. I'd ask if anybody else knows of something that should be on here that isn't. Maybe we're a little more comprehensive than sometimes that we've been, but trying to set the stage. So with there being none, I'll just work from the top down. Are the commissioners able, or enough commissioners able to talk to the minutes for the year that we have not approved final yet?
Do we have those printed out or not?
Yeah, I did print those out. So I have some corrections. On the March ones, my first comment, and these ones Mike did. My one comment was under letter F. If we could just a spelling thing for town council, C-O-U-N-S-E-L. So it's just a grammatical or spelling thing on that one. And easily corrected. Then by way of explanation, the April meeting.
Andy, Suzanne's name was spelled wrong. We just learned that. Suzanne.
On the agenda?
is not- No, in the minutes of March 8th, she's not T-E-X-T-O-N, and she's Susanna.
So it's the
Otherwise known as
S-U-S-A-N-A.
So S-U-Z-A-N-N-A, and the last name is completely different. But I like that texture. T-A-Y-T-S-L-I-N.
T-A-Y-T-S-L-I-N.
Correct.
I just
And-
learned that back here. so-
Okay, good. Thank you.
That's pronounced how?
What's that?
That's pronounced how?
Teitzlin.
Tyson.
I think I did those minutes. I remember just being like.
Thank you.
I don't know what this is.
Yeah, you got, yeah.
Sorry.
All right, so on that one, to go final, Naomi, would it just be,
As amended.
right, I know as amended, but to actually get it corrected, is that something we correct and get to you? But-
We fix them and make them final. So Mike probably sent it over
Right.
in Word, then we saved it
I
as PDF.
Oh, I think that one probably was in Word, if I recall right, so.
So then we take
If
it
you
and
can't,
make it final.
get in touch with Mike and he can get it to
You
you.
make a motion individually for each set?
I wasn't intending to, but if somebody wants to, we could.
I just make a motion that we accept the minutes as amended.
Well, second.
All right, so we got a motion on the March minutes.
5 months.
That's right. We see if I can reach back on anything older than that. Any other comments on that? There being none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That is all in favor. Five, zero, zero, okay. Then we're moving on, this is a little bit of explanation on this one. In April, our April meeting, and this comes up because our April meeting was the first meeting after town meeting, or at least town meeting as completed with our town vote. So we did hold our annual meeting, but we didn't properly record that. First part of the meeting was with the Board of Selectmen, and then the end of the meeting, as the Board of Selectmen continued their meeting down here, we went upstairs to hold our annual meeting briefly. And so I documented those first part of the meeting by borrowing from the Selectmen minutes for our joint meeting, and the second part filled out for what had been a gap in our records. And so as I wrote those ones, I have no comments, but would be glad to entertain anybody else's comments on those minutes. If there are none, we can,
It started, first we spelled wrong. It's S-E-R-G-E-A-N-T is how they call it. I was just gonna fix
S-E-R,
it. Two for guests.
yeah, yes. I got E-R-G-E-A-N-T.
E-A-N-T.
Common spelling error on my part. So, yeah, thank you for correcting that. We have a motion on those?
Motion to accept the April minutes and annual meeting minutes as amended.
And a second.
Second.
There being no other comments on those minutes, all in favor of accepting as amended, say aye.
Aye.
I'm gonna abstain because I wasn't at that meeting. I continued with the select board,
Correct.
so I wasn't at that meeting.
So, that would be a 4-0-1, as Sherry abstained. Okay, so that one passes, and then we move on to July. And on these ones that were prepared for us, kind of getting back in the swing of things with assistance through the town administrator, just across the board, I would like to remove ex officio as a designation for our member Sherry. Very commonly, or perhaps most commonly, when a select board member is on a commission or a committee, they actually sort of gain that position by merit of their being on the Board of Selectmen and working as a full member, but not as a typical member. So their membership is keyed to their Board of Selectmen membership. In this case, Sherry's membership is not because she's on the Board of Selectmen. So we want to remove ex officio and either replace that with commissioner or member. And that's in the July minutes, the August minutes, September minutes, and moving forward. So that's across the board. Now under forestry items, it'll get easier on subsequent ones because of the notation that our minute taker has done. But on this, in this case, down at the sort of three-quarters of the way through the award timber bid discussion, we have a sentence that says, Vice Chair Nager said he spoke with Jeremy Turner and said it is going to be important to harvest this fall because of the, and the word we have here is comb, C-O-M-B crop, and we want to change that to cone, C-O-N-E as in pine cone.
My name is misspelled in there too, all over the place.
Yeah, we can fix, spelling, because she doesn't know anybody, she doesn't live in town.
Oh, you're right, it is all over the place.
Yeah.
No, I guess it's a
We can
standard.
correct it.
If you would, yeah, correct that for NAJJAR.
We have Pastor Bill Stockhouse, and it's pasture.
Pasture Bill, yeah.
We know that it's.
Yep. That's the only thing I had on that one. Anybody else have anything?
I thought there was something in that first paragraph. Can I just look? I scanned them today. No, it wasn't this one.
Okay. All right, could we have a motion and a second on these minutes?
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes as amended for, what was that?
These would be for July
July.
12th, 2023. And a second?
I'll second it.
All right, all in favor as amended, please say aye.
Aye.
And I'll abstain, I wasn't here.
All right. So that one passes. That's noted. Now we move on to the August minutes. Let's see, up top, as in, under folks who are not here, I'd like to recognize Mike's position as secretary there. And then we'll go to line 28 now. Change aggregation to aggregate, as in gravel. And down to line 49, just a minor thing, don't need to capitalize harvest. You see that one, Naomi?
On line 29?
Sorry, 49.
49. Oh, yeah.
And now moving on to lines 101 and 102. Says here, Mr. Fulton said in his experience with bidding, it is not the caveat and may not be written up this way that we take the lowest bidder. That just seems unclear to me, and I would like and recommend just taking out that sentence. And moving to line 159, we might make a bid, but we accept a bid, so we change bid to bid. And, I'm sorry, jumping up to 157. I'm not sure what the word store is there for. It says the landing, road, and store have been mowed. So I think we just strike store and say the landing and road have been mowed. I think that was it.
And take out store and store.
Yes.
They're probably referring to blackbirds, maybe. Because is that the one they're talking about, the field there? by-
Right. Maybe that's why, where the word store came out of. Yeah.
That's why the word, that's when I saw that I,
Yeah. Then lower down there on lines 167 and 168, again, we have council, C-O-U-N-C-I-L. Can change that to the word that refers to a lawyer, C-O-U-N-S-E-L.
We'll put Steve's name at the beginning. In the absence, spelled Bronco.
Right, right, and again, pulling out ex officio and changing it either commissioner or member. All right, another set. Do we have a motion and a second to accept the minutes as final?
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes as amended for the month of August 2023.
August 9th, yep. And a second?
I'll second
All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Gonna abstain?
And none in,
I don't believe I
Disfavor.
was there for the August meeting.
302?
what are you doing on that one, Mike? Yes, that's correct, you were
Yeah, I'll
present.
abstain.
All right, yep.
Okay.
So, Steve and Mike abstain. And then we're on to last month, moving right along. Same deal on changing ex officio. And I would also,
Steve's name?
yep, and Steve's last name, and I would also like to change Mr. Fulton to Chairman Fulton. Across the board. I suppose if my wife's talking about me, Chairman Fulton maybe isn't appropriate, but that's okay. All right. On line 19, we have the sentence, Fulton stated October 5th, 2020, he had filled out a form to be reappointed. That should be September 18th. He had filled out a form to be reappointed and signed it along with the ethics form. And then the start of the next sentence on line 20, I'd like it to say, per the October 5th, 2020 Board of Selectmen minutes. And then on Vice Chairman Hippler at the time mentioned, motion to accept, and Meany seconded to accept the reappointment of Andy Fulton as a member for a term of 3 years. And then moving down to line 23. Starting mid-sentence, as the end of the appointments, but he does feel blindsided. And then it says with the October 5th date. I'd like to strike that and just say he does feel blindsided and his, now strike has not fulfilled the, I wanted to say his 3-year term has not expired. And entering has not expired after a 3-year term.
Say that one more time?
The corrected reading, as I propose, would be, this is starting up at line 22.
Mm-hmm.
Fulton said that he understands that the BOS had chosen to mark March as the end of appointments, but he does feel blindsided and his 3-year term has not expired. All right. Jumping down to line 87, we have a sentence that starts off ahead of it with the correction I suggested. Chairman Fulton said it is good that the landowner is maintaining the, and now we have a word to insert, forest, and we support that as a commission. Currently it says the landowner is maintaining the, and we support. So insert the word forest. On line 121, we have a repeat of language. I'd like to see it say Chairman Fulton said that RSA 36A and RSA 31:112 explain, so we're removing explained at the RSAs. So now we'll read the RSAs explain that the commission manages the forest. Then down to line 123. I'd like to insert, we should after and, so it'll read, Town Council said it was a legitimate request, and we should provide the documents. That one makes sense? Down to 136. Instead of being a broad agreement, I'd like it to be a general agreement between Meadows End Timberland and BOS. And then on 146, actually starting up at the end of 144, those are essentially contracts. He said there is no overarching current agreement, that the other one was 15 years old and the BOS had them redo that, comma, and was waived. I would like to insert, and the purchase policy was waived in February 2020. I think there's a subject that was missing. So that something was waived. It wasn't a flag, it was a purchase policy. And the last thing I have with those are lines 202 and 203. We have a motion there, and I'd recommend it be bolded like the other motions at the top of the last page, lines 202 and 203. Anything else? Do we have a motion and a second on approving as amended?
Make a motion.
I'll second.
Thank you.
Andy, was I actually at that September meeting?
I think you were.
Okay, I want to make sure. I couldn't, I read
Yeah.
it, but I wasn't sure after I went through it because I had come up one night with a migraine and I wasn't sure. I said I don't remember half the stuff that was
I
in
cannot
there.
attest to how you were feeling, but
Yeah, coming with a migraine,
I
yeah.
think so. You weren't the only one with the headache that night.
Yeah.
All right, so we've got the motion. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Oppose? Abstain? That's all in favor. All right. Long overdue, glad to have it addressed. So those are what we have for 2023. Naomi, is there a possibility of anything earlier in the year coming off recording? Or is that something for us to consider internally if we want to correct the arrears?
There is some missing from all committee and commissions before we hire the minute taker.
Do we have a plan on that, or is it?
Won't go back and, she was hired from July 1st forward for X amount of meetings a month. I'm not gonna go back and ask her to do the others.
That's all I need to know.
So we're pecking away at them slowly in between, and it's not me. I'm trying to get others to help.
I'm not sure I understand there, though. We're not asking the person who's working off of our
No, but
current meetings, but
there's some staff that
Off of YouTube?
Because they're on YouTube.
Okay. Thank you.
I'm surprised it's not like an AI tool at this point that you can just feed that through. I mean, there are.
There is.
Yeah, there are. Yeah.
It might be a little while before towns have that capability. It's not just as simple of, it's not as simple as you can use it.
Otter AI is one I use.
We tried SpeakPipe, which is police use. Never. It's 155 pages.
Really?
That's the tough part.
Right,
It doesn't
Right,
associate what's
capture
important.
It captures, but it
Yeah, just
doesn't
capture
tell you
everything.
what to
Yeah.
talk. It just says speaker, and then you talk, and then if somebody starts, you get 3 words, and then it says next speaker, and it finishes a sentence. It's terrible. Because you talk over one another, and it's not just you, everybody does. You don't talk over one another, and you don't say your name. So then somebody still has to take that 155 pages and sit down and figure out what the world you were talking about. So we did try what the police used, and I did it once, I would never do it again. Just because people don't know, you do get into a conversation, and you may say 3 words, he may say 4, and he may finish your sentence. But it's by the word that you do it. And we gotta try to get better to be one person speaking, but at the same time, you still have to understand who spoke, because it just says speaker 1, speaker 2, speaker 3, speaker 4. Or speaker, 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 they don't even necessarily give it, so if you were 1, it would be one thing, but it just keeps going speaker, speaker.
Right. Well, I think evidently,
And there's a cost to it too, I mean, we tried it one time, and that was, the police use it for their depositions, but that's fine for deposition. But it was kind of crazy, if you wanted to read it, you wouldn't even know where you were.
which begs the question, and I apologize, maybe I know the answer better now, but your comments aren't picked up as in the discussion we just had.
Good share of Mark,
Some,
I can speak loud enough,
okay,
I've been told that before.
thank you. Do we, on the commission, have anybody who wants to listen to one of our old meetings and commit to putting down some minutes?
Yeah, I can look at it.
You did the May ones, you did May 12th,
Okay. Is that,
I just don't know why we don't have them up.
did I submit it to anybody? I can try to dig it up
Yeah.
and submit
Try
it.
to dig them up, I think you did May 12th, to see,
Okay.
let's start with that one.
And I can look at,
And I don't remember what June was. I don't know if we met in June or didn't, I'd have to look.
I thought
I remember around that
I
time.
think it got canceled.
Yeah,
Probably.
get canceled.
June got canceled, I think.
Well, that's what I, so,
I can look into February though. What else was missing? Is
For
June-
20, if we met in January, and
yeah, I
sometimes,
think the fall of 22 is missing too. I don't remember how many times we met.
let's see if we can, before this year is up, catch the ones
So
for
2023.
2023 and get back on the snide. Yeah. All right. Still hoping we'll get Denise here. So let's take a look. Let's see if we got commentary.
You wanna see how long our guests are good for, maybe, just in case they get other commitments, or?
Yes, as Steve mentioned, Ray and Ian, are you okay hanging on? The last word I got is, unless something happened while I was driving over here, that Denise will be here to talk about the topic of interest to her tonight. I did assure her that we're not going to have a brief meeting. Did not at that point know that you guys were going to be able to join us, but if you're able to hang in, give it another 20 minutes or so, that would be great.
Yeah.
Thank you. And Phil and Zuzu, I guess I'm jumping down to other business. But I think when you were here last time, that was back in April. You're back, which is awesome. Have you filled out volunteer forms?
Yes.
Okay. Have you decided, we've got one full member, and we've got plenty of alternates, essentially unlimited, because we've never tested them. But have you decided how you want to approach that as far as applying to be a full member or an alternate?
So I'm applying to be a full member.
Excellent.
As an alternate.
Right. And as an alternate, like tonight, one of our members wasn't able to be here. If we, and oftentimes that's the case, both of you could, most meetings, step to the table and join us as full, as a full member and an alternate fully participating with all the same rights and privileges and obligations. So, don't leave tonight without getting those to me. And I'll sign off, and we can have any discussion if we want to. But we've got a number of odds and end pieces. But why don't we look at our planning board item? Been a while since we've chewed on a set of plans here. We've got a Phase 3 for the Cold Springs Body Shop, 48 Colby Road, tax map 412, lot 170.2, with a proposed use as a 10,800 square foot body shop with associated parking within the area previously approved for RV storage. It's a site plan review. With plans dated September 8th, 2023. And a hearing at Planning Board October 26th. And so Phil and Zuzu, what we do on these is basically just look at the plans for conservation interests. If there's something that strikes us as incomplete or maybe not addressing some known concern, then we flag that for planning board to address with the applicant. And this phase 3 looks to be south of Colby Road, in the back. So this would not be viewable from 114,
South Colby.
yeah, with a
Is that where the buildings
fairly,
are now? by
there's
the
an
road?
existing paved access
You can see
drive
the
that would
road,
become the
but
the
this is
driveway.
behind it.
Behind that.
Yeah.
And currently, there's a gravel RV storage pad.
Which there is, it's just all been cleared out.
Not storing vehicles there anymore. Just because it jumps to my eye. Mark, what is,
That's the snowmobile club, that's where the tent is. It
Ah,
used to be
okay.
where the dump was. That's where the snowmobile club parks the groomers and stuff.
yep.
How big is their existing building there? Service shop they
I-
have.
That would not show because that is over here.
No.
Oh, this
the
one.
Service shop that they have.
Oh,
there.
okay. Similar. Within,
About the same size?
yeah, might be a
Smaller, I think.
touch longer,
Yeah.
if, but not Really not appreciably.
This was just all gravel esker all back in here that they've cleaned out and leveled out.
When was that done?
It's been over the last 5 years.
Yeah. They show a existing 100-foot residential no-cut buffer. This would be the wetland symbol for area out towards 114. That no wetlands shown in this area.
No, there's nothing up there. It's on the 114 side of that was wet, but that's on
Yeah.
the high side of it.
The only,
Here's the, I mean, they're showing, that looks like it's all wet, like down and right up against here.
Yeah, it's down along in here.
Oh, is it this piece?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well, where's the club land? Is it
That
right on that edge
170
right
is way
there?
up there, right?
Yeah.
Because it's, on the bottom half of that club land is where it's wet.
It's a little further back.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but it runs all along the side here.
Right, right.
You're going off 114,
What?
your club,
No, what, Toby Road.
would be cool.
So where's this thing way down on that corner there? Yeah.
Yeah, the very back end of it, I think.
170.2.
Mm,
So,
Go back in there.
right. Yeah. And showing the lot up there with the Otter Brook.
Yep.
So this is a little bit of the Otter Brook wetland. This was a bit higher with the esker and
Yeah.
platform.
Where are you? in
This
here?
plan, purpose is to show the grading and drainage
Yeah, it's this
improvements
little corner right there.
Yeah.
with the proposed Phase 3 site plan. There are no new drainage improvements associated with this phase. So I gather these are commercial properties where the
Yeah, that's
The
probably
buffer is
where,
less than 100,
Bovier's
50.
old place was along the side here.
Yeah.
perimeter erosion control. Utility improvements. Lights on the building, there would be a septic system. Tank, leach field. I presume this is designating what's
The parking area.
going to be
Parking,
paved, but I
paved, yeah.
didn't see a note on that.
It's showing existing paved driveway and that's going in and that would
Yeah.
be around the building.
That would make sense,
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, proposed edge of pavement.
There we go, yep.
Yeah, this whole area up on the top side here is an esker. They've torn it down.
Mm-hmm.
The bottom end of that is where it was wet, which they're not even close to.
Right.
and they have pretty good drainage where they cross over onto this piece. They put a lot of drainage into it when they put the original
That
building
drive,
in.
that driveway's already been, that
That's been
piece has already
approved.
been constructed.
Yeah.
Okay. And then that's a detail on erosion and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
Would a map like that need to, lay out any hazardous material storage, things like that? Is it not gonna be storing that much paint there? Or hazardous waste there?
As a body shop, yeah, there'll be some things that you don't want to splash around too much, but it's a bit beyond our purview.
Okay.
Yeah, they're gonna have a cement floor, hopefully they've
I-
got correct drainage.
You know,
Yeah,
it's,
and
it's,
pavement, yeah.
I don't know, if we are aware of something very new being done, as in a new procedure or a new material being brought to the forefront, or they were talking about storing of significant volumes of this, that, or the other thing, then we could comment on it, make recommendations, but that's stretching
Yeah, I was just asking.
stretching beyond, I mean, things we can think about, is there a aquifer protection district down here? Is there signs of something that's going to, now be paved and end up dramatically changing the drainage off of property? Nearby wetlands, are they impacting the wetlands? Do they need a variance to the buffer and that sort of thing? So, in this case, I think we're in agreement that, and tell me if otherwise, that nothing's presenting itself as a weigh-in concern. Everybody show a nod or a assent to that, so it becomes an exercise of sign-off. The engineer and surveyor is Bedford Design. So all the parties are very well known. And so I will pass this along with no comments. All right, it is 8:19, and I believe we have another guest. And I'm guessing you might be Denise?
I am, yes.
Denise, would you please come on up to the podium and,
I have to stand up here.
yes, you get to stand up here. You get the podium and
All right.
an opportunity to share your interests, your concerns, or
Yeah,
what
so
have you.
just to give you a little background and introduction, Denise Purington, live on Thorndike Road here in Ware. I've lived here a little over 50 years, raised my kids here, my grandkids are being raised here, husband, third generation, so I have a lot of history in the town. 2 years ago, I joined the Parks and Rec Commission, just as kind of a way to give back, and I did have some interest in some of the facilities that were, kind of needing some repair, so I thought it would be a good way to just get involved. And Sherry, if I say anything that's incorrect from the selectman's standpoint, just jump in. A while back, probably earlier in the summer or midsummer, Ware Athletic Club and the Generals football program came to the Board of Selectmen to speak to them about the lack of ball fields here in town and, what were we going to do about it. So the Board of Selectmen asked the Parks and Rec Commission to start to look at possible opportunities to look at field expansion in town. And one of the things that they had spoken to us about previously was the East Road property. A year ago, we had gone forward at the town meeting with a warrant article to replace the tennis court facility. It was built in the 80s, it's crumbling, it's been repaired for the last time. And at that time, they even asked, would East Road, if it became an athletic recreation facility, be an option? So about 6 weeks ago, the Board of Selectmen, Parks and Rec Commission, and the acting director of DPW did a walkthrough of several properties in town. One of them was the East Road property, and one of them was the Inison Field property on Thorndike. And we did that walkthrough to really get a look at what do we have available to us in town, and where might we have some options to put fields. The Inison Field property was ruled out pretty quickly. What's left there, if you walk down behind Inison Field to 114, it's straight downhill, very wet. I think it was even a piece of property that at one point the town considered to put the elementary school on and walked away from because of the slope and how wet it is. We walked out on the property on East Ware Road as far out as where the gravel bank is out there, the big pile of gravel. A couple of things we noted on the property. Once you get beyond the fence that's there, the terrain is very rocky. Large boulders, lots of trees, very up and down. Became evident pretty quickly that it would be very difficult to level any type of land for one field, let alone more than one field. We also currently, Parks and Rec are challenged out at Bolton Field because of the distance from the road for our ball fields out there. We have dealt with a lot of vandalism. We just repaired the gates. That property will be locked now, but even the police have had challenges with really trying to patrol that. This spring, we lost a field. Vehicle did spin outs on it. Nobody's down there, nobody can see it, nobody hears it, so.
Used to happen every other year. It's
Yeah,
a shame.
so one of the things as we walked on the East Road property, we just said, you know, if you get too far out there, we've got another Bolton Field situation, not to mention the terrain. It really, I think it's cost prohibitive. So anyways, the Board of Selectmen, we all felt like the flat field area was a potential, but we knew very little about the property. So we started pulling documents, or I started pulling some documents here at the town office to look at tax maps, warranty deed, fiduciary deeds. I went to the Hillsborough County Registry of Deeds, tried to pull everything I could on the property. I spoke with Terry Knowles here in town because of her experience legally at the state with conservation land, conservation easements, really trying to make sure I was turning over every stone. If she was me, where would you go to look for more information? I reached out to the New Hampshire Forestry, Protection for Forestry. They were very, very helpful. They asked if they could have a couple days to do some research, which they did. They came back to me, let me know that they were not holding the property in conservation. The property is registered on Granite View, which is a UNH-based program that lists all property in the state that's under conservation, listed as unofficial conservation land at this point. Then we went and we pulled the documents from the town meeting, the public hearing, minutes from your meeting, minutes from joint meetings from you and the Board of Selectmen. And then what I did is I just really presented that all back to the Board of Selectmen. So we were kind of all, where are we at with this piece of property? And is that an opportunity for us to do any athletic fields and look at recreation? We did, in the Warren article, the town had voted to set aside 8 acres for gravel, 12 acres for recreation, and 117 acres for conservation. So that's kind of where our jumping off point was when we were at the selectmen meeting. And that's really kind of where it ended. The selectmen decided to take all the information that they had gathered and move it on to the town's legal counsel to take a look at, are there other documents out there, other easements, things that I might not have seen, found, and legally, based on the town vote and all of those things, what are the options with the property? And then the last piece was, at the time, I think I had reached out to you to get to one of your meetings, and I'm not sure you had a meeting that month. So I'm here really to I'm just trying to fill in all the pieces. I'm just one member of the commission, Parks and Rec Commission, who's been assigned this duty. And the ultimate goal is really to decide whether or not there's opportunities to expand our need for field use in town. Is that property a viable piece of property? And the selectmen really, at the end of the day, are making the decision. Parks and Rec is not making the decision. So I'm here today. My reason for coming here was twofold. First and foremost, courtesy to make sure you know what Parks and Rec had been instructed to do based on what the selectmen asked of us. And secondly, just, I know some of you were on the Conservation Committee at the time that the property was acquired, so you may have pieces of the puzzle that, we have not looked at or turned over. And then entertain any questions that you have. I don't know that I can answer them all. I'm just a tax-paying citizen like you guys I'm a volunteer on this board, and I'm trying to do, what we've been asked to do, and try to help the taxpayers in this town and the kids have places that they can go and play their games and have some recreational opportunities. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. So I don't know if you have questions for me or concerns or.
Thank you, Denise, for laying that out. Before opening up to the commission for comments, I will say that it's a shame that Conservation was not asked to weigh in sooner or participate in a site walk of what we do regard as a conservation property. So you've done a lot of work, and it feels a little bit like conservation's an afterthought on the discussion.
Well, I just, for me, and I didn't schedule the walkthrough, so.
Understood.
I did, my goal was to try to get here way earlier,
Yeah,
but,
we've been involved with this
Yeah.
project for a long time, and it's not a new,
yeah.
new development or a new pattern. I guess it fits an old pattern, which is, it seems the Board of Selectmen or other town officials have a different view of the property than Conservation does. So, in opening it up to commission discussion, I'll first nod to Vice Chair Nager.
Yeah, so I just wanted to just clarify for the record, and hopefully get it in there. So as Article 29, I believe that was 2013, and the language with the respect to the what was set aside was, this is out of the article, 20 acres of the property will be set aside for future recreational facilities and gravel pit for the town. So it was just 20 acres. And then I will state my personal understanding for the record is that that was all the same 20 acres. It was very much a model of like what happened at Bolton Field, where the pit was excavated and that was turned into athletic fields. So that's what the article, what our impression of the article was. And just secondly, I want to say, I don't know if we were able to confirm this, there was a problem with the funding. So if you look at our 2014, I think it was January 2014 or something like that, the minutes, the warrant article said we were contributing 50,000 from the conservation fund. We had to end up contributing 180,000. And there are some restrictions. I mean, we can only buy conservation land with conservation money, and the deed actually says to the town acting through its conservation commission. So that's kind of all I got.
So I would just say that I agree, I have the warrant article in front of me. One of the areas, so we also got Article 29 of the public hearing prior to the vote, in which there were comments made that town members got up and spoke regarding 8 acres has an existing gravel pit, and an additional 12 acres be set aside to create a 20-acre area of athletic facilities. So again, that's why we passed it on for some legal input, is because we also went back and looked at what the public comment was in the process of voting on that, and really trying to get some kind of opinion on whether the gravel and athletic had to be contiguous. Particularly if you walk out to the gravel pit, it is extremely far out there. And it really, I'm sure with all the work you've all done on that property over the years, you know that most of that beyond the fence it's gonna be nearly impossible to, or cost-effective to clear and make those, that area at all usable for a field, let alone some parking space. So I think that's why we felt like we wanted to make sure there was some legal opinion based on public comment and the warrant article, whether that had to be a contiguous 20 acres, or if it was 8 acres of gravel and 12 acres set aside for athletic facilities and fields. So that was part of what we were looking at, and also the public comment.
Yeah. And just for the record, Steve and I were on the commission
Yeah.
when we did this purchase. Mike wasn't, Sherry wasn't, Mark wasn't. We do have a lot of minutes that reference the property. And we do, in attendance tonight, have one of the folks, or perhaps a prime person who got this ball rolling as a town project. It was quite an undertaking, uncommon to bring the number of parties together that actually came together to make this become town property. And we have the former owner of the parcel here. So I think we can speak to intent, both with Steve and I being here, as well as folks who got the ball rolling on the project. But that's only one piece of the puzzle.
Sure,
You
yeah.
know, and perhaps it would be a good time to address that. So, what was the vision as the folks who organized the project thought it, and as a property owner who sold the property? What was that vision? So let's invite Ian McSweeney up to the podium now, and we'll
Yep.
have additional opportunity for commissioners to weigh in after Mr. McSweeney presents some information from, the workup in 2013 and 2014.
Thanks. So Ian McSweeney, Buxton School Road and Ware. I've been involved in land conservation in different capacities for the past 20 years. Not recently in Ware, but probably 6-7 years back. Was very active in Ware for that time. Before that, served on different boards, but primarily leading a private foundation, the Russell Foundation, where I had the honor of, working for this project, conserving the Puritan Farm as well, working with you, Ray Banks, working with other farmland owners along East Road to conserve their property as well. And so I have a number of documents. I'd assume some were found in that search by the selectmen, maybe some were not, but I'll reference them. I don't have copies, but I'm happy to make copies and submit them into the record if helpful. And then I'm happy to speak to the intent, but why don't I just rattle off some of these documents and what it speaks to in them. So right, this project started, it had to be 2009, I think. We had discussions then. It was then in 2011 that the Russell Foundation entered into an option agreement with you, Ray, under the Alma Schmidt Trust. That option agreement speaks to intent. I have a copy of that. I can submit that in. That option agreement was then assigned to the town, so that was the binding contract that details intent. That, consistent with other things I'll share, shares a similar vision. So that option contract was in place, moved forward to secure funding. Right, the Conservation Commission was, I think, maybe the first committed funder at 50,000. The intent was then to go to the town. It was also to go to a private trust in town to get some money. There was also applications to several grants, LCHIP and a few others. Some of those played out, some didn't. The Russell Foundation was also a funder to some of this, so we were a party holding an option, a party giving money towards this as well with the intent. As we were raising the money, we moved forward. We went to the zoning board as well for a lot line adjustment to reduce the lot that holds the apartment complex on it to less than a standard lot. That was submitted on October 7th, 2011. We then went to the October meeting and we did get approval for that. In that approval, it spoke to the same intent that I can get into more after this, but so that zoning board meeting and minutes are also public record, and the approval of that then also binds the property into the future, both that, the benefiting larger lot and the benefiting substandard smaller lot as well, ties them to intent. Then, right, kind of as that moved forward, secured other money, then went to the town for a proposal. It was first going to be Article 30. There's language, went to the Board of Selectmen for that on January 21st. Of 2013, went to the Selectmen's meeting. Those minutes are online. I have copies of those as well. Answered questions around the intent there. It then became Article 29 and was voted on, and it passed 774 to 547, supported by DPW, Finance, and the BOS. And, that Article 29 was already written or read into the record, but that also speaks to intent. After the passing of that, the farmer who hazed the field, or at least did, Mark Anderson, came to the Selectmen's meeting on March 25th, 2013, to talk about continued use of the agricultural land. And it was a positive discussion. That's all online and meeting minutes as well, and I have that here. I could submit that in as well. But ultimately then, purchase was completed. Town, to act as conservation land, acquired the property. Overall, all these documents that I referenced speak to an intent where, right, just like kind of at least my perception of Bolton Field, that it was a gravel pit, it then in the reclamation process was flattened out. So while it looks very difficult now to think about that being a flat athletic field, and the cost to do that is far more than just converting farmland. There's revenue in the aggregate that's in the ground, there's revenue in the timber that's there, and if you have machinery there already pulling gravel out, to reclaim something at the end to a flat condition with much better drainage than the agricultural fields have is quite possible. And as the town has already done that before, so the intent all along and what these speak to was that the farmland would remain as farmland, as active farmland of some sort, whether by the town or leased out by the town to other party, that the gravel pit of 8 acres and contiguous 12 acres would be, over time, athletic, recreation, infrastructure, fields, and the like. And the 8-acre gravel pit would continue to pull gravel up until there was no gravel to be pulled, but that the recreation fields, recreation complex could go in 20 acres, kind of all part of that 8 acres there. So that was always the intent, was, that farmland is contiguous along a corridor on East Road with several other properties that the town has expended well over $1 million. Landowners along that area have donated well over $2 million. There's been federal money put in to conserve land along this corridor on East Road, all for farmland, view shed, protection of farmland soils, farm enterprise. So that was the intent all along. And really to have that mixed use of, gravel for the town, future recreation site for the town, agricultural land and overall conservation managed land, along with the 600 or so acres that are along East Road there.
Thank you, Ian, that's very
Answer
helpful.
questions, or I can happily give copies
just-
of any of these documents, but.
Just to be sure, I want to also give Ray a chance to weigh in if you'd like to tonight. You don't have to, but if you'd like to
He
speak.
was telling the way it went, and because I even gave, they couldn't come up with the money, and I gave them $60,000.
So, and that was for a purpose,
Yeah,
that was towards a goal of yours?
yes,
Yeah.
I gave them. And in the left-hand side of that field there, in the back, I cleaned it. It was trees and stuff in there, and I cleaned it up. So the intention of that being farmland was what it was. And then it's not right to put it into something else.
Thank you. I appreciate you being clear on your recollection there.
Andy,
Go ahead, Sue.
I just want to state for the record, I mean, that is exactly my recollection as well. And somebody had kind of a draft conceptual map at the time showing, this whole concept that, so that's the way it was sold. And the only question I'd have for Ian, if you remember, I don't know if Andy or if you got it, if we got documentation on what happened, because in our records, there was the $130,000 shortfall. I know there's a comment by me, something about a legal opinion, make sure that we could take care of that delta with conservation money because it didn't match what the warrant article said. So we had to bump it up to 180. And, my motion's really clear that absolutely had to be conservation land for that 180 to go into it. And we had a public hearing.
The records show we actually threw another $5,000 into it.
Oh, on top of that too?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because there was, L-chip grant wasn't received,
That's
and
what it
up
was,
front,
yeah.
it was expected or anticipated that it could be. That didn't come through. Yeah, so and that was pending when the town meeting happened, when kind of final approvals for funding from town came, and then it came through late summer maybe or something, that we didn't get that money, so that became the shortfall.
The only other thing, I guess it's a little fuzzy, and I think it was related to like that unexpected amount we had to contribute to the purchases. We didn't end up having enough money available or didn't want to spend what we had left in the conservation account on funding the Forest Society, because there's a big expense on getting an easement done, and we didn't have any external sources to go to. So I think that's why, because there would have been some survey involved to actually, now I wish it was done because you'd have the 20 acres surveyed. But, you would have had survey expenses and have the actual funding of the easement and all the overhead costs. So that's how that kind of fizzled out, I think, and it just, that part of it fell apart.
That, and there was also next property over to the Brown property was kind of earlier stage of development of conservation at that point, and what role the Forest Society was gonna have was still up in the air, so I think that put things on hold a little bit, and then, kind of conservation kicking in more money meant there wasn't money for other stewardship, because that's,
I think that Brown parcel went in, and I think it was 2007, down
yeah,
at the end. That, at least it began around that time. And I was on the Mildred, I'm still on it, the Mildred Hall Committee, and I think we put in $130,000 on that project.
yeah.
And it
Actually,
was
in-
stated to us it was gonna be, the field land was gonna be left as farmland. That's what, and I almost think you might have even come to that meeting and addressed it to us.
Yeah, and that was a consistent message throughout, and that was I guess two answers. So one, right, on the conservation easement, because that was the Russell Foundation provided some small money towards purchase and then some project costs, but we never funded stewardship on anything we did, so that easement costs would have all been borne by the Conservation Commission, so that, yeah. The other piece I meant to mention earlier that is also of public record is, when we were trying to get support for the town vote, we had developed a Facebook page that still exists and is live now and speaks all about the intent of this project. And it has several links to union leader articles that were done on this project that speak all about the intent of this project. And all that's public record and available to find on Facebook today.
And what's it under on Facebook?
I think it's Article 30.
Oh, okay.
Or Article 29, right? Was 29 the final? Yeah,
Right,
so Article
right.
29, maybe it was vote yes on Article 29, but it was something to
I
that
know there was some
regard.
stuff in the Manchester Union on it.
Yeah, and that Facebook page links to those
That-
press
yeah, okay.
articles as well.
The other thing that I do know is that the selectmen were supposed to put that into conservation land, and I believe that Naomi, and I'm not sure she can speak to it, I believe that Naomi started looking into that, didn't you, at one point with the Forest Society? Yeah,
Yeah, it was,
yeah,
because,
All that dropped.
yeah,
yeah.
that was
yeah.
the intent, and it was
Right,
starting to
yeah,
move forward in
yeah.
that direction, and then,
Realize the intent.
No,
It's just the ball that dropped.
Yeah.
10 years ago.
No, it was a money thing, like we just
It
talked.
wasn't, it was after you bought it.
But I'm just saying it was a money thing.
2015, when Brian Hotz and you guys had a conversation.
Yeah.
2020, I reached out to him and said that nobody got, he figured it was a dead deal and it never went anywhere.
it was-
Yeah, but I'm saying it was a funding thing that has an expense associated with it. I mean, they don't do it for free, that was the
Right.
problem.
I think it was a couple $100,000, I'm guessing that's,
no,
it
it was
was
maybe 40, 50.
40, that's all?
Survey and all
Oh,
that, yeah.
okay,
Survey, baseline,
Yeah,
stewardship fund,
okay.
yeah.
and probably an environmental.
Well, I mean, I think, you know, it's something we
Well,
ought to
I
take care
honestly,
of at some point.
honestly, I believe the Board of Selectmen dropped the ball on that. So, there's,
It needs to be fixed.
well, it could be. It could be if, easement-wise, if we have the will to do it as a groups coming together to that, it still could be done, sure. I just wanted to add to the record from Beth this morning, Beth Roos. As far as the funding and what we have as a town for records, we have for the purchase, $180,000 from the Conservation Fund, $155,000 from Mildred Hall, $200,000 from the Warren article out of taxes, and operating budget covering legal fees to about $1,600. So there were three very large players. The town voted the funds out of our property taxes. Mildred Hall voted the support out of their trust, and the Conservation Commission stepped up to the tune of getting close to a third of the project through the Conservation Fund. And I, for the record, would like the minutes to show that on December 2nd, 2013, a Conservation Commission meeting, so this was before the purchase. Our item 3 on our minutes from December 2nd, 2013, says that, amongst other things, Mr. Nager addressed the selectmen. This was a concurrent meeting with the Board of Selectmen, Conservation and Selectmen. Upon invite for public comment, and mentioned the conditions that were attached to the commission's funding pledge, including management of the property as conservation land, less the 20 acres to be set aside for gravel extraction and reclamation as athletic fields. BOS Chairman Clow confirmed the understanding that the existing fields are to remain in agricultural use. So it's just another member of the group that got together to try to move this forward through. It involved, like I said, Mildred Hall, it involved conservation, it involved a Russell Foundation, it involved the town, it involved the selectmen, it involved Emma Sawyer Trust, Russell Foundation, Forest Society. So lots of folks got together with an intent on amongst other things with this property, preserving the farm field as farm field. And that's something that is still of value to the Conservation Commission and something that is relatively rare in town. Doesn't look like there'll be, anytime soon, any expansion of farming. We're not at risk of too much land in town going to farming, that's for sure.
What was the date of those minutes that you just read?
December 2nd, 2013?
Sherry, I had those in the packet I gave you,
Okay.
that they're in the packet too.
So I think we're pretty clear as a commission on what we intended at the time, along with others. And I think as individuals, we acknowledge that, the desire to do something different with the property can evolve through time. So Denise, you've expressed that there's interest from the Parks and Rec Commission. And then it becomes a question with that interest expressed, well, what's our obligation as a town at this point? What's our obligation as a Conservation Commission? What's our obligation as a Board of Selectmen to the town? And then in addition to that question, what's our obligation? It's, well, where does the authority lie? And that you've mentioned having, through the Selectmen, a request to town council on that. Naomi, as town administrator, has that request gone to town council? And has there been a response?
I'll go to the podium and share, just in case nobody's ready.
Before we're done, I just like, everybody keeps saying for the record, I just have one other comment for the record too.
Come on up, sure.
I want to make sure to get on the record based on, and I know tonight, intent is very important, and that word has been used quite a bit. I do think it's important for the record that there was intent also in the public comment at the meeting at which it was very distinctly talked about two different parcels, 8 and 12. And what was the intent of the taxpayer? And I think that's one thing we're forgetting here. The land is, right now, there is a, by warrant article, 117 acres must go into conservation by warrant article, and I think everybody agrees that has to be fixed. We're a number of years out also, and the town has grown, and I think conservation is important. And I think we're not coming here looking for apartment buildings to be built or whatever. We're looking for athletic fields, a place where our kids can run in a field. I take some issue with the fields being able to be put back where the gravel is. We had 2 DPW people there who were adamant, based on the fact that they've hauled stuff out of there, it would be cost prohibitive to ever see anything in the next 10 years of fields in that gravel area. So I do think, for the record, what's really important here is to lay out everybody's desire, intent, legal documents, votes, and I hope it goes before the public, and let the public decide. There is taxpayer money, and for the record, I have had a number of people who have approached myself and other board members to just say that a lot of land in this town is in conservation, and that's great. Our taxpayer money goes towards that, but at some point, we need to have some ability to use that. And I think what better than to allow our children and our grandchildren to have soccer fields and baseball fields that they can use in the town. So for the record, I just hope that we look at the intent of the warrant article, the public opinion, and we put this back before the public and let them decide. And whatever happens, happens. But I think our intent is just to do something good for the community and for our kids.
You'll never get any more land in this given to you if you do. I'll tell you that.
Ray, if you'd like to make a point, come up to the microphone, but I do understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yes. And that is, there are
I would buy it back if
Come on up so that we can all hear you and
they
folks.
want that, I'll buy the thing back. But I don't want it tearing up a ball field.
Well understood. Thank you, sir. Town Administrator, did you want to share with us something?
So, I mean, I've been around a long time as well, and I know the intent, and I've listened to all the intent, but at the same time, in 2015, we dropped the ball somehow, some way. 2015 was the last correspondence we had from Brian with the society, and it didn't go from there. So according to town council, Terry Knowles did get involved, did a whole lot of research, and it appears that the conservation easement never did happen. So it's not a hidden fact, we all know. But 10 years later, I believe we should make it right. We should finish what the taxpayers voted on. We should, according to her, that she said that we should get a plan done to identify the easement area, the non-easement area, and we need to get it on paper, get the easement done, because 10 years ago, when you went to that ballot box, anybody that did, knew the intention, but it never finished, it got dropped off. So it does take money, and it may have to go back to the taxpayers to ask for money to be able to get the plan and finish the easement. As you say, it costs a lot of money. So in 2020, I tried bringing it back and explained that we had not finished the process in 15 was the last email I had from Brian Hotz, because he felt that it was a dead issue. I think that
He felt it was a dead issue when, in 2015 or 2020?
2015. So I reached out to him in 2020, because during the pandemic, I was trying to clean my desk off and came across that it was still pending, because we never finished it. So in 2020, sounds like time to go to bed. So in 2020, I wrote to him and said, can you give me a little clue, because the last email I have from you is 2015. So in 2015, he just said that, he said, I assumed they didn't want to move forward and the project was dead. And that's the last I heard in 2020. I asked the selectmen what we were going to do. And now we're asked, you know, I mean, I think we have to finish the project. That's the only fair thing. Meaning a plan and easement. Because there is no easement. Town council looked at the registry, Terry looked at the registry. Right.
There's complete agreement. The easement was not
Yeah,
completed.
right, so let's finish what someone voted on 10 years ago.
Are you able to read what the town council?
She said, I'm not seeing an easement, I'm not seeing an easement at the registry, but I don't always trust my search. It would be nice if they had a list like Piscataquag Land Conservancy, and you can click on that and you can find them all. The society doesn't seem to have a list, but someone should call them to see if they hold an easement. Denise has already done that, I'm not gonna pick up the phone again. The warrant article says 20 acres will be set aside for gravel and recreational facilities, so yes, it can be used for that. If you're asking, can the facilities other than ball fields, I think the answer is yes, because I did ask that for tennis courts. Because she's right, they have talked about moving the tennis courts, maybe down to East Road. And then she said, I agree with Terry that there's not already a conservation on the property, that you contact the two organizations and see if either is interested in holding an easement. As part of it, you'll have to do a plan identifying the easement and non-easement area. She said, well, I don't think you have to consult with the Mildred Hall people as to what kind of recreational facilities were constructed. I do agree it could be a good idea. So I think it's time that we finish the project and just finish it. I mean, we've all talked about the intent, but it didn't get finished, and let's finish it, that's all. And it's gonna take some money to finish it. You're gonna have to have a plan drawn. So if it goes back for more money to draw a plan and finish the easement, then that's what it takes. But I think it needs to be finished for everybody.
Yeah.
I'm not denying that spending $180,000, that you have a large piece of the pie. But the other $200,000 that was kicked in from the residents as part of taxes also have a part of the game. So that's all, it just needs to be finished, that's all.
Go ahead, Steve.
You know, I agree with that. The thing, as far as terminology that's being tossed around tonight, the only thing that I guess we'd have to look at the town report to see how this thing got carried, but to me, so there's a conservation easement, which is a very clear legal thing that does not exist. We all agree on that. But the actual deed is to the town working through the Conservation Commission, and the funding was, you know, part of a significant chunk of the funding was from the conservation account, which RSA 36, I think A, states what that can be used for. So just want to make it clear, I wonder if there's agreement that this is actually conservation land. You know, so it's managed by the Conservation Commission. It was clear in the public hearing. So that never really got addressed, you know, we've kind of had that tossed around. So I think what Naomi's saying, I agree with that, you know, we need to get an engine, so that's the other problem with what we just talked about, and I think it's kind of a conundrum. It's not a conservation function to get an engineer to go figure out where the recreational facility is gonna fit in the context of that gravel pit. Which, by the way, the gravel pit is not a permitted gravel pit at this point. I don't think that ever got fixed either yet, but, so maybe it's a whole nother warrant article to engineer whatever we're doing down there and survey it and then get it in the deed. And the whole problem is it really ready for that, because the gravel hasn't been extracted yet.
But you could still lay out
You
pieces
can-
to show the area.
Yeah,
It doesn't have to be extracted.
you could,
No, like, well, yeah, I'm saying does an engineer, I guess they'll have to envision the end state of the gravel, because you don't want it to go too low and get water in it.
Which is exactly how Bolton Field was created, that's why the football field sits lower.
Yeah,
That was donated.
yeah,
yeah,
That was completely mined, excavated, and donated as it sat.
yeah,
Because if it wasn't going to town Ware, it was going to Goffstown.
right. So, yeah, I mean,
The
that's,
Bolton family stepped up and donated.
right, so you know what I'm saying, that exercise of figuring that out wouldn't really fall neatly into something you'd use conservation funds on, because it's not,
No, I
Yeah.
wasn't asking.
Yeah.
about that, yeah. I'm just saying, we need to finish the process.
And I think in that engineering plan, it needs to be understood that wherever you lay it out, how much work, is it 10 years worth of gravel removal, or 10 years from a field, or could a field be developed?
in 5
into-
years.
Or less, because I think you heard from the Ware Athletic Group, and they're renting fields in Henniker, they're renting fields from other places, they're out of fields. And so there is a urgent need for the next year to 2 years to have fields built. So I think part of the process has to be, we have.
Denise, I'm sorry, would you come up to the microphone? I'm sorry, I didn't catch you earlier, so that folks can actually hear and record.
I think from the Parks and Rec perspective, and again, folks are directed to us, but it's important to understand, they came to the selectmen, they came to the Parks and Rec, Ware Athletic, Generals Football, because they're out of fields. They're renting fields from New England College, they're using fields in Henniker, they're using fields in other towns. And so if the property, if there's going to be an engineering design, I think it's important that it's addressed. If that 20 acres has to come from where the gravel piece is, how many years is it going to take and how much money to do that? And secondly, as I addressed in the beginning, what are we going to do from a security perspective? We've seen the vandalism at the Bolton Field, and when you put something 2-3 miles out, and we walked all the way out there, we had 2 DPW guys who are very clear, you will never see a ball field out here without a lot of money. So I think that all has to be factored in. And if this property is ruled out, what's being asked of us is, we have all this land in Ware that taxpayer money has gone towards, find some land for a reasonable place to build ball fields, because we're out of options. And just as an FYI, when I was doing my research, the property right beside it is also unofficially in conservation land. I don't think that's ever been followed through on, because we looked at that one also, unless it wasn't intended to be. But the property with the red barn, none of
Wasn't
that's in.
That wasn't intended to be
Okay.
farmland, it was intended to be used by the Historical
It
Society.
just is listed as unofficial conservation land by the state of New Hampshire. So,
Yeah.
again, when we looked at the vote there was a lot of talk about conservation land on that property that I don't think got carried out
Yeah, I
either.
don't think
But that's just a separate
Yeah.
thing. But again, if an engineering design is next, I think they have to address how many years, how many dollars would it take to have 12 acres available for field use? Is it 1 year, 5 years, 10 years?
Well, they can go in and cut 12 acres of land out in about 2 weeks, and then go in with a big excavator, stump it,
Right,
and I'm
The-
telling you,
Yeah.
in 2 months, you wouldn't even recognize a piece
right.
of
And I
land.
think that one of the Board of Selectmen who used to be a DPW director here, and the current one who's been taking some gravel off, it wasn't the tree, it was the boulders and the grade of the property. And they spoke of boulders so large that they don't even know how, there's always a way to do something, but
Yeah,
again.
roll
what's
them out to the edge.
Right, but what's the amount of money and what's the time? I think that's all I'm asking for as a consideration, because we have an urgent need to find something for the Ware Athletic Club in the football program in town, or they're gonna have to continue to charge more money to the kids and go out of town to meet the needs.
Denise, do you know what they're paying right now to rent fields for the year? Do you know what the athletic club is actually paying for that?
Mike, I don't have it with me, but Mike did share. I think they're renting fields in Henniker for lacrosse and one other thing. I think I have it in my notes at home. I didn't bring
I
it
was
with
just
me.
curious what
And
they're,
that they also use, I think we talked about this, they are using the elementary school baseball field right now.
Oh.
That, they get second pick on that. The school gets first pick, obviously. So they just have some needs, and they are willing to invest money in it, but they have needs. So I think as all of us, we're all looking to do the right thing. We're looking to do the right thing on conservation. We're looking to do the right thing on the kids in this town. We just have to think about everything as we look to put this together.
the other thought is, I think there's more than 12 acres of land, of forest down there for sure. So maybe what we could do to compromise would be to take 20 acres of the forest down there and put that into the ball field and leave that gravel pit alone if it's gonna be another 8 years or
Right.
10 years
Right.
before it's gonna be used. I don't know if that's
But I
possible.
don't think the Warren article explicitly
Said-
said 117 acres, and you're gonna carve it out anyway.
Okay, all right.
So, so DPW's been taking gravel out of there for the town, and it's slow, right? Because they're taking what they need.
We don't have
Well, I
enough-
think they stopped because their permit has expired, so they've stopped.
Well, they never had a permit, actually, but anyhow, that kind of whole separate issue. But, so if you think about it from a town perspective, right, that gravel has a dollar value. I mean, you could go in there and say, we need it out of the way now, we're gonna sell it, that money will go back into the project, so I don't think we need to look at like our slow rate of attrition with gravel as something to stand in the way, whereas you could just sell it off on the market and get it out of there and keep whatever you needed. And then, even with rocks, I mean, people have crushers and rock hammers and,
I'm not saying, it's again, it comes down to money and funding and design. My point was
Right.
only is if as all these boards together get involved and do an undertaking of engineering, I think where Parks and Rec would just like to put our 2 cents in to say there is an urgency. Any funding has to go before the town, so if it's millions of dollars, most likely, we're not gonna get it. And, it can't be miles in. We have seen the damage done at Bolton Field. And you can try to lock gates, even locking gates, you have the public who's saying this is our land, you shouldn't be locking gates. So I would put a plug in for Parks and Rec. If there's property in the front, because the Warren article doesn't say the 2 pieces have to be contiguous. If there is 12 acres closer to the gate that could be used for cleared and treed and whatever, because when you walk back to where that gravel is, that's a long ways to have ball fields and get your police and everybody else to make sure kids aren't out there horsing around, because they are at Bolton Field, and we are constantly repairing the facilities out there. So I'm just putting the plug in for something closer.
How come we don't get cameras down there?
The town has no cameras. We can't even put cameras at the tennis courts. The tennis courts have been vandalized twice since we repaired them. They're in the center of town. There is no central camera system in the town of Ware, and until there is, Parks and Rec can't, if there was a central camera system, we'd have cameras on all our fields.
I have one other quick question. You know, what's behind Center Woods? Isn't there something down there that could be?
There used to be a baseball field down there.
Yeah.
But it doesn't belong.
It's privately owned.
And so you know, the request on the table right now is for 3 multi-purpose fields, which would be soccer, lacrosse, field hockey, 2 baseball fields.
Tennis court.
So there's 7 athletic fields and the potential replacement of the existing tennis court. So we have to have enough acreage to accommodate 5 to 7 athletic fields and the potential relocation. The value of relocating the tennis courts is it frees up that property for the expansion of the library. And from Parks and Rec perspective, it starts to consolidate our facilities. So we only have, you know, bathroom facilities, trash facilities. We're shrinking the number of properties we have to monitor, maintain, keep up. So there were a whole lot of positives to start consolidating. The request on the table right now is for 5 to 7 athletic fields. So it can't be a small piece of property. It has to, we're not even sure we could get 5 fields on 7 to 8 acres, but you know, you gotta do what you have to do. So it's not one field, it is multiple fields.
That'd be a giant warrant article, huh, for that one?
It would have to be a 3 to 5 year plan.
Yeah.
You know, you'd put in a field or 2 a year. And we've done a lot of research. There's a state grant that's a matching $1 million grant. But you can't even apply for it until you have some
$1 million,
consensus.
yeah.
Well, you don't have to have the $1 million, but you have to have a commitment from the town that you are willing to do this project. And I've spent a lot of hours with the state looking at all the ins and outs of that grant. That grant paid for the current tennis court and Purington Field. It was a 50-50 matching grant, so this town has received that grant twice before. But I can't even, Parks and Rec can't even apply for it until we have some kind of consensus that we're willing to do something on some piece of property. So there is money out there to help fund that.
Thank you, Denise, for speaking to that and sharing your background and your investment in the project. I think we've talked about 2 different things tonight, and one seems more in agreement the other, and that is that we don't currently have a conservation easement on that parcel. So that is not a limitation. But that in and of itself, not having that conservation easement, does not mean it is no longer conservation land. We have lots of conservation land in town that doesn't have easement on it. So, you know, maybe lesson to the Conservation Commission to push harder on things and try to secure easements more widely than we have, and especially when we've spoken about it in a warrant article. So that's one aspect. But the other aspect is it is still conservation land. This commission still has a responsibility towards management of it as conservation land and an obligation to honor the agreements that were made in bringing it into its status as conservation land. So with that, I think I've heard very clearly that there is not consensus that the agricultural land should be made available for ball field development, ball field recreational complex development. And that should come out of this meeting, a conclusion from the Conservation Commission as to our disposition on that question. I don't think there should be any ambiguity on that.
Yeah, I mean, Mr. Banks stated, you know, then we've talked about a tent, but the purpose of the land was to be remained as farmland, and that would be our duty to see that the intent of the land provided by Mr. Banks, we are responsible for that in his wishes. So that'd be my
Thank you, Mike.
view of it.
Anybody else on the commission want to share some feelings on this project, or some insights or positioning?
I'm just speaking as Mildred Hall. Obviously, I wasn't on this committee, and I wasn't a selectman when this went through, but I was on the Mildred Hall committee, and it was stated to us that, you know, the 8-acre pit and the 12 acres of woodland was going to be made into ball fields, and that that's what was presented to us when we looked at giving money. Mildred Hall looked at giving money, which I had done 130, but actually, I guess Beth looked up and we must have gone.
155.
Somebody must have come back and asked for a little bit more or something in the thing. I just don't remember that, because it's, you know, we're talking 10 years ago. I don't remember somebody coming back, but I may have been away for a week and missed that one meeting when they came back. I just don't remember that portion. But I do remember it was the 8 and 12. It was clear. So that's all I have. I mean, I don't have anything else, because like I said, I wasn't involved back then with conservation.
And what you say, Denise, about the quality of that property rings true. I well remember first time down there, looking at what had already been excavated, looking around and thinking, well, you know, maybe you could make a skating pond down here, but it'd be a real struggle to put in the ball fields. But it was clear that was where the ball fields were envisioned. Now, not to say that other people didn't have other ideas. There are lots of ideas in the town, and that's proper and expected. But when it came to making the deal go through, making it become town property, we do have a loyalty as this commission to the intent of how that money was spent. So I would say the commission's pretty clear, and I'd be glad to be corrected if otherwise, that we do not see the development of the agricultural fields as ball fields in a recreation area as consistent with the purchase of that property for the town. And I think town council spoke, and I think Terry Knowles spoke to a different question altogether, which is, are you limited by a conservation easement? And I think that the commission says, no, you're not. We didn't get that job done. For whatever reason, we have our thoughts on that, but that job was not done. So maybe that's like a little bit of an opening. But I don't think this commission will be easily swayed into the position that, you know, it should be available. Prior commitments are one thing to consider, but not the only consideration. And I think we have a very strong claim to a management responsibility on that property. We've been back and forth with the selectmen ever since it happened, it seems. And when something's not done, there's a tendency to look at the other party. You know, conservation might look at selectmen and say, you never did this. Selectmen might look at conservation and say, you never did that. And I know that's just frustrating to everybody, from these guys here on putting the project together, to you trying to see your way clear to a solution to the problem, to the folks who have been here a long time and the folks who are, you know, just newer to the scene. You know, that sort of difference of opinion gets difficult to deal with. But I will just finish with the firmly held position that our obligation is pretty strong as a Conservation Commission. And I don't know what the next step is for you guys. I think the Selectmen and the Conservation Commission ought to take next steps towards making a clear reckoning of just what is what out there. So it's not wasting anybody's time. Steve, another
So-
word.
So, yeah, I just want to make a suggestion that we email the Board of Selectmen, and I don't know if this requires a motion or if it's, you know, kind of unanimous, but I think we should go on record to the Board of Selectmen and let them know that, you know, based on the testimony from Ian McSweeney, who was the project leader, Mr. Banks, who was the kind landowner who gave us a below-cost sale, and you know, based on all available information from the minutes and what the intent was, that the commission had the intent to protect the agricultural land, to protect the scenic corridor, and our understanding was that the 20 acres and the gravel pit are all the same area and should continue to be the area that is looked at for development, and that we do not support sacrificing the agricultural fields for recreation at this point.
That, to me, that statement dovetails with the will of the commission. It's certainly a stronger statement if we, make a motion, and I don't know that it's necessary, but if you want to call that a motion and we can get a second,
No, I just
we
make
can.
that a motion, if you can kind of paraphrase what I said there. Do you want to go back through that?
Let's be, take the time to do it clearly now.
All right, so make a motion that based on the testimony from Ian McSweeney, who was the project leader for the Russell Foundation, and Mr. Banks, who was kind enough to give us a below full cost sale on the parcel, and the supporting minutes and that have been presented tonight, that the clear intent was to protect the agricultural fields, and that the recreation field development and the 8-acre gravel pit were all the same area to our understanding, having been on the commission back then. And then we, as a commission, do not think it's appropriate to sacrifice the agricultural fields, because the intent of the project was to protect them and to protect the whole corridor in East Road. And, just recommend against any consideration for development of those, of that agricultural field. And I think we could add on to that and just say that, based on everything we heard, we should continue as a town to get a conservation easement completed and get the 20 acres, actually surveyed out. Did I miss anything?
I don't think so. All right, so this is a motion that sets a position. Do we have a second on the motion?
I'll second.
All right, with the motion made and seconded, do we have any confusion on the motion? Do we have any comments on the motion? Further discussion? There being none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstain? So that's a motion approved unanimously by the commission. Thank you for bringing that to us It's a challenge to meet all the needs of a town, and there'll be a further discussion, I'm sure. Please view, if you can, the commission as a partner. We hope to be principled in our positions, but we also seek partnerships with other boards and commissions, committees in town. So, thank you for coming on our changed schedule, and please, if there's any follow-up concerns or questions or need for clarification, please do get in touch with me.
Sure.
Thank you. And thank you, Ian and Ray, for taking time tonight to, a little bit of a trip down memory lane, but your contributions certainly aid our recollection and firm things up from our perspective quite well. So I appreciate your good-natured attempt to spread some light on some of the initial issues, and we'll see where it goes from here. But thank you for your time tonight.
Yeah, thank you. Fun to come and share.
Ian, probably get in touch to get some copies of the documents or scans
Yeah.
or something, okay?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I
It would be easy to make copies tonight if we had paper,
Yeah.
but we, I understand that that's not available to us right now.
right, yeah, but just I can just scan and send emails too if easier,
Yeah,
but,
that's fine.
yeah, just let me know. I think too, the zoning decision is a legally
Everything should be
binding.
online. All the minutes you talked about, and everything should be online.
Yeah, but not the,
Yeah.
Meaning the ZBA,
Right.
Yeah.
the Board of Selectmen,
Yeah.
everything else should be there.
Before 2012, there's no minutes for any other
Oh,
committees
you know what,
involved
because
in
we
this.
probably didn't sign up for the website until then.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
The website was privately owned.
You've taken some effort to package things, or had a package, and that would be great to have it packaged,
Yeah,
so.
sure.
we don't have
Thank
that
you.
option either. I mean, that's not online. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah,
right.
so that could be.
Yeah, I'll
Thank you.
make copies.
You mean,
Thank you, Ian.
Be well. All right, we've rolling on here at 9:29. So that was only an hour and 10. All right, looking down the agenda, if we can move on. Under land management category, we have Tickler there, Felch Farm, Town Forest Harvest status, and unless somebody knows something different, the status is, it is on hold. Anybody know anything different on? We've chosen to put it on hold.
Yep.
Okay.
1 year anyway, right?
That resides with another board. And that certainly was discussed at Selectmen. So we'll just leave it there. Ray's not here to speak to asbestos abatement for the Barden property, so we can get that demolition done out there. So we'll hold that till Ray can speak to it. Unless anybody has anything to add to that. So these are items that we need to take care of and we need to bring along. So just moving down the list, Eastman Conservation Area, Town Forest. The brush mowing on the field is complete. I think some may have seen pictures out there. Looks, all reports are it went quite well. And there's a request from Matthias that we just keep it on our radar to come up with a, potentially even walk it with the folks who did the mowing, but come up with their work towards a schedule of maintaining that. And I'm sure Matthias would have some ideas on that, as would the contractor. Any other thoughts on that one? Along the, same concept of mowing, but one that has not brushed over, because we keep mowing it annually. Steve, could you see if Mr. Wilson would again knock down the weeds in the sumac that come up on the Eastman Field next to the cemetery?
Yeah, we'd have to appropriate some money.
Right, right. So maybe we could have that annual exercise.
Let's make a motion for up to $500, not thinking it's gonna really cost that, for, field maintenance at the Eastman Conservation Area Town Forest.
Funding source?
We usually use conservation.
Last year we did, I think we used town budget, or commission budget.
Did we use the budget for the emails, Naomi, or did we?
No, you're gonna use the budget for the email, you said it last time. You mean your email account?
Yeah,
Yeah, you're gonna use your operating budget, so.
How much is in the operating budget? 20 to begin with?
no, it's not much.
Our annual's about 1,200.
Oh.
Actually, we've got that from Beth, and that comes up down the list. I wish I had printed it out.
Alright, so we use the operating budget.
We're almost at the end of the year, so, right. So if there's 500 there, we won't use it out.
Well, we won't use 500, and before we go much further, I should ask for a second on that.
Second.
Second on the motion?
Second.
I think Sherry waved on that one first, all right. I think we're in good shape with that. And if we find out otherwise, we'll have another opportunity in a month's time to take a different crack at the funding source, but I think we're in good shape. Further thoughts on that one? There being none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right. So Steve, will you contact Mr. Wilson on that?
Yep.
Thank you. All right, we made a recommendation to the Board of Selectmen out of last month's meeting, that we approve an agreement with an abutter for taking timber harvest materials out of a lot through the town property, the conservation area, the town forest. My understanding is that that recommendation was discussed by the selectmen, accepted, and the outcome was suggesting that conservation should sign the agreement. So I signed that agreement, and we should be all set with that. I would say that it would probably behoove us to have somebody, either Jeremy, somebody from Meadows End, Jeremy or Matthias, be a point of contact for that work, so that we have sort of a boots on the ground presence as it gets to the actual road smoothing work or maintenance work that needs to be done to make the deal work, that our town forester be a point of contact and given the ability to oversee the use of the town forest property for that purpose. Any thoughts on that, Steve?
I don't know if it's, I mean, whatever you wanna do, I don't know if it's really necessary, cause I get the feeling that forester was gonna deal with it, so that turns into a little bit of an expenditure for us, just depending on whether you think we need to or not.
It does.
I mean, I think there's, you know, I have some trust in that forester that came in here just by him being a forester and going to do the right thing, and if something goes badly, we'll hear about it, you know, but, I don't know that we need to,
Spend any more money to.
yeah, cause there's nothing going on, you know, it's just put a couple culverts in and, yeah, that'd be my only thought, so, totally up to you
Documents
guys.
been fixed?
Huh?
Have the documents been fixed? So the permit by notification was signed by who?
Yes, I signed that.
And where's the bond? There should have been a $5,000 bond performance. of the town.
It's on Brian to secure that before he moves on the agreement.
Right, but the town's supposed to hold the bond.
That's my understanding, yes.
All right,
Yep.
no, just checking. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, to me, like, where there's a New Hampshire licensed forester involved, wouldn't worry about it.
Any other thoughts from the commission on that?
Right, so you've got a resident that has been to the selectmen in regards to the width of that. How's that gonna affect them? You want them here all the time?
I would like the forester, I would like the forester to make contact, and I've expressed this to
Okay.
Sherry, make contact with the resident.
Okay. Because she
And-
came to the board complaining about the two cars can't pass, and then wait till she finds out there's big trucks gonna come through there. You're gonna hear from her, that's all I'm just telling you.
Go ahead.
So we've talked with them before
Mhm.
in different issues. I mean, the thing they really need to understand there, they have right of way over town property. I mean, it's not a
Yeah.
class 5 paved road and expect, you know, so if a tractor trailer's coming down the road and you wanna pull in, you know, just yield, right?
I just want you to know, and I think I shared an email with Andy,
Yeah,
you know, it looks like there's some trees there to be flagged too, right?
That's,
different issue.
that's one thing that I didn't catch. That'd be under other
No, I
business,
just-
but
when you said you would hear about it, I'm just warning you.
I mean, I've talked to her before, I mean, you know, yeah, so, and her husband, I forget his name, but, yeah, I mean, if they need someone to talk to, just call us, but it's just common sense, you know?
I get that, I'm just letting you know, because we get inundated with the emails about it.
But you remember last time around, we ended up doing a little bit of gravel work in there after the logging job
It's been a while,
too.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I hope,
honestly, I think the gravel that she's complaining about could be improved and frankly fixed by the
No,
responsible.
You just said you would hear about it,
Yeah.
all I was doing was letting you know, you may hear about it.
so Sherry, I mean, when you're done with that, it'd be really nice if they could York rake it, if you could talk to them about York raking it, so it looks nice when everybody's done and we all have a good kumbaya moment.
Might not get that far,
Yeah.
Yeah, what's the spelling on that?
And I'd appreciate it, Sherry, if you would just keep me up to date about what the plans are and schedule of work once that becomes obvious.
Yeah.
All right, call that addressed. Steve emailed after last meeting, the Board of Selectmen, regarding the position taken by the commission relative to the town forester contract. I have not heard any response to that. Have you any response, Steve?
No.
The one word I got, I think it was through email, was that the Board of Selectmen appointed one of their members, Sherry, to share with us something from their meeting. Is there anything that you know of, Sherry, to share on a response to Steve's email?
About the forester?
About the forester and the recommendation that the Board of Selectmen sign the contract that we'd had on the verge of signature for years and move ahead with it? Was there any board discussion on that? Is there something to tell us that our,
I don't remember anything. I know that there was 2 or 3 versions of that forester contract done, and I don't know where it ended up.
Laura had done the final one, right, Naomi?
Then no, actually,
All
Jerry
right,
did.
so what, this is open discussion now with the commission. What does this commission need to do to get clarity on, what's necessary to get out of the state of limbo that we're being held in?
How about with my brand new town email, I'll get a hold of Jeremy and ask him what he thinks the final version is that they would be willing to sign, and present that to Naomi and the Board of Selectmen to see if they're willing to sign it. We gotta figure out who's got, we need to start dating these things if they're not already dated, like as you
The
go through
version, yeah.
drafts.
All right, that'll be a next step on it, Steve, keep trying. So we'll take that and roll forward and see.
I think
I don't know, it is
after the next meeting, what it suggests is we try to go into just the board,
it's just
the
a
Board of Selectmen meeting.
poorly handled inflection point between the board and the commission. And it's been that way for far too long.
Yeah.
We need the Board of Selectmen to weigh in on this contract and tell us what is needed to get it moved forward to completion. We are the managers of the town forest. We have a Conservation Commission, have the ability to make contracts with companies and individuals to do work for us. We need to be able to let our contractor move forward with the understanding that we are in agreement and under an agreement. The longer we go with this nebulous status, frankly, the less our contractor has confidence in our town to do good business. So I don't want to lose them. I don't want to lose the good working spirit we've had, because we can go quiet for months and months and months, and then another thing comes up and it's thrown in our face that we don't have a contract. We've worked on this for years. We've tried and tried and tried with the Board of Selectmen to be upfront and diligent in doing our part to get this thing taken care of. And if we don't need it, that's fine. I'm fine acknowledging Meadows Inn as our contract forester and moving forward on FSAs. But we've been told we need this contract, so let's do it. And I've tried to express that to Ricky, the chair of the Board of Selectmen, and for some reason, we're not getting it done. So Steve, make sure when you email, and frankly, maybe it's better to address the email directly to Chairman Hippler and CC the town administrator, because we're not getting this done, and we're not getting the feedback we need.
Well, they all got it, but, so Naomi, I'm just looking at my email, the one I got is like, let's see, it was from you, 3/31/21. Got an email, it's marked up draft.
I don't have anything with me tonight. You could be right, Steve, I don't know.
Yeah, I just don't know which version, I guess I'll
Not
just,
really a part of the meeting.
I'll ask Jer what version he thinks he has, and try to put it together and just kind of finalize this thing.
Yeah, if we can just present it and say, hey, let's sign off on this, move forward.
Yeah, the one thing that, that did come up with talking, and Mark had raised this issue too, the contract that we've got, the draft one, Laura actually gave it to us. And there was one thing that Jared didn't pick up on and Mark picked up on, was that the whole entire, administration, like everything for a sale, it says is kind of rolled into that, whatever that percentage they get is. And apparently, Medicine over the years, and whatever the last version was, that was not the case. So as Mark correctly picked up, there were some hours billed that, were really sale administration, but so there's a discrepancy on this thing, so I don't know if when I talked to Jer about it, I was like, personally, I would leave it alone, because it's already been reviewed, and just eat that cost and deal with it some other time, but, just so that is kind of what happened, but at this point, that's not signed, but I guess I'll go to him, see where he's at, what version he's got, and try to have that set to present the next meeting and then go to, go to the Board of Selectmen meeting with it and say, hey, how about it?
Sounds like a plan, Steve.
Can you follow up with that? Can you follow up with that at the next selectmen meeting?
Well, I think we've got to get the third thing, and then I think that probably either the chair or the vice chair should come in and speak to it.
The really big thing is, to make sure the Board of Selectmen are not undoing the decision to waive the purchasing policy. So we haven't heard that, it wasn't the response and the acknowledgement, because that was a previous board that waived that, but nobody's formally undone that. And I don't think the current, not like the current board, but I guess this year's board, or whatever you want to call it, didn't recognize that it had actually already been waived, so.
And they just amended the purchasing policy the other night too. They adopted it and put it up.
Yeah, so hopefully that waiver's still good, but they're gonna have to see.
I can't commit.
Yeah.
I don't have it with me, so I'm only trying to take notes for the minute taker, because she doesn't know who you are, so.
Yeah.
I try to keep initials and who's talking, because she doesn't want to get that big.
All right, on that item, there's a second part and invoice. I've got an invoice from Meadows End to the tune of $1,443.75 that I would like to pay, but I do not think that we have authorized this expenditure from the town forest account. So it's on the hourly RSA, not RSA, FSA, Forestry Services Agreement. And this is for, let's see, dated September 30th. Necessary time to attend to management matters involving town forest needs per the hourly Conservation Commission meeting update, attendance and travel, select board meeting, redraft of Felch timber sale bid, emails, Board of Selectmen minutes archive review for town records, presentation of documents to Dropbox, review Conservation Commission meeting and YouTube, regarding forester responsibilities, and 91A research.
So we did authorize the 91A research specifically. I believe that was last meeting. And I think that's kind of.
Was there-
auxiliary ones under that.
Was there funding number, dollars attached to that?
Yeah,
And if-
well, there wasn't a dollar, I think we just said it under the hourly. I don't think we had enough to pull that meeting minutes back up.
Could we have a motion just to approve payment of this invoice as a special, special obligation?
I make a motion to pay it out of the town forest account. For the, all the reasons that they had detailed in their billing request. And what's the dollar amount?
$1,443.75.
$1,443 and
75.
75 cents.
Could I have a second on that motion?
Second.
Further discussion? There being none, all in favor say aye. Aye. That's all in favor. 500. Thank you. I will get that to Beth. All right, trying to launch through some other business now.
Can I bring just one business item up on
Yep.
forestry?
Yep.
In past years, I've mentioned this, and the FSAs, I think now actually have a statement on them, but in case I forget or I'm not here or something, by the December meeting, if there's something that we've authorized, some kind of work against this fiscal year, we need to make sure we encumber it and not forget that. So just kind of a reminder to review, the open forestry services agreements and
Wait,
encumber anything.
Can we ask Beth to send down everything even next month for us, if there's anything still open? Next month, and then do it again in December?
December.
She wouldn't know. It's on the, so.
She
yeah.
wouldn't know?
No, we have the signed, so what I'm saying is, so we wrapped up the forest management plans. I think we kind of wrapped up the GIS thing. You'd have to look at all the forestry services agreements, and, so as part of this 91A exercise, or at least we got, the signed 23 agreements. Let me just open them up real quick here. Just trying to get because like what's been happening, we had asked Meadowsend to send an FSA with every bill, but they were sending like the ones that we hadn't signed. We got the ones that are actually signed, that executed now. Just the 23 ones, but let's see.
This is what
Why'd you
hit the
print 'em?
Dropbox.
All right, so. So the timber harvest one is not that doesn't have to be, encumbered because it's a revenue generator. You'd get a new hourly, there's nothing on that. Title work for the county lot, did we finish that yet? We did, right?
We did.
I don't think there's anything left.
We finished the work on it, but we didn't get the
A response?
response from town council or a,
No, we did, well, we wanted to get town council to draft a letter, but we haven't got that done yet.
but as far as,
That's done though.
yeah, it to be well and goodly done.
So no one, we haven't gone back to the attorney to have a letter drafted to county for the other thing on this, on the county property?
No, we had asked that that be done, I think that was on our last minutes there too, as an open item, so yeah. I guess, where do you have to go to Board of Selectmen now to get permission to talk to the,
Yeah, I think if they
Did
go
you
to the Board of
guys-
Selectmen to get,
Complete a policy on that?
We did, we approved it Monday night.
so can we email the Board of Selectmen and ask them to be able to talk to Laura to draft a letter for the Board of Selectmen to sign, to send to the counties? I mean, not to the counties, who am I,
not to
Fagnano.
Caggiano, yeah.
Sure you can, that'd be great. I think that's good.
Alright, Barden, Hardwick County lot, this was boundary, did we finish that?
Yep.
So that doesn't have to be extended. Timber harvest.
Yeah, that last page was not perfect, sorry.
Yeah. That one's all set, cause it's not a expenditure, yes, I don't, guess we don't have anything we need to encumber once.
So we reviewed the active or the year's RSAs.
FSAs.
FSAs, stop it, Andy. We reviewed the 2023 FSAs and don't see anything to encumber.
I think we should, invite Jeremy and Matthias to give an update in the December meeting, maybe. A forestry update.
That would be helpful.
You want to put it out to December and not November?
I got a sneaking suspicion I might not be here in November.
You're never here in November.
Really?
Maybe a problem.
Four-legged problem?
Yeah, somewhere.
Yeah, go on two legs looking for the four-legged one. Yeah, I think we ought to take a vacation next month.
Yeah, looking at the calendar, it's really early this year too. Everything's bumped way up.
All right, I can pay that. So I already hit the first one. The time I spent with Board of Selectmen was productive. And we got squared away and got myself reappointed. So that was good. Got some apologies for things not handled quite right, and that was good. So now we come to membership applications. Phil and Zuzu. So why don't you, if you still, after all that, are still interested, why don't you,
Pretty dull today. Directives, then.
why don't you hand them over and I can sign, and then you can hand them to the town administrator. Yeah, somehow my signature got better. Today is 10/18/23. Thank you. If you guys want to say anything, fantastic, but if you don't blame you, and we expect one or both of you could come join us at the table next month.
Yeah, you'll
I
definitely.
mean, presuming that it can go through selectmen and they approve you.
Yeah, assuming, yes.
So we'll just hear about that?
You'll hear next from Naomi as
Yeah, I need
to
see what the schedule
when,
like to
when and,
board then introduce you for a couple of months.
All right.
Looking forward to it.
all right, excellent. Yeah, and you've already heard that the vice chairman might not be here, so there'll probably be a space at the table, if not more than one.
I thought that
But,
was-
but in all seriousness, Phil, as an alternate, you know, the hope and expectation is that you kind of keep track of what's going on. And there are times when we're desperately needing a quorum and we have folks down for illness or absence or what have you. So it would be awesome to have a alternate approved so that we can keep our business going even when some of the folks here at the table can't make it. So, thank you. Let's see, the next item is just a FYI. For some reason, Eversource thinks we own the Collins Landing easement area, but we don't own it, so they're gonna cut some trees, and good luck to them. But just an awareness of things that come our way.
So they asked me to do trees to move, so I sent them your direction, because you guys manage that, don't you?
So we don't own it.
Yeah, you don't own it, but I'm just thinking, he asked for who managed it, and that's why I sent it to you.
We don't
But the
manage.
form is sign off as owner.
Oh, see, he didn't tell me anything, he just wanted to know who took
Yeah.
Yeah.
care of it, and that's why I sent him your way. I've never seen a form.
Who is the owner?
Remember they came into the meeting there one time?
Well, no, they come to our meetings sometimes when it's on a scenic road, but
No,
No.
not
No, no.
not Eversource's folks, but
No.
the actual owners of.
Owners, yeah.
'Cause we had that salt shed on the easement there.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
they came in when they were doing a
Yeah, but I
harvest, and
don't
they wanted to
remember
tell
the
us that
name.
they were doing a harvest, so.
Yeah,
that's
Um,
not what they indicated. But
Yeah,
it's whoever that
that's
is.
I don't
So
remember.
you gave it to the owner?
Uh,
Did you tell him it had to go to the owner?
no, I just did not sign it. It's so low down on things going on that it.
No, we
that-
could send him in the right direction, so.
I can't remember
If
the
you could
name.
send them in the right direction, that would
I
be
have
great.
no idea, I don't even, I mean,
Well, it's just a property record, who owns it, I
Yeah,
don't
lot and
know,
a range wouldn't
I
have,
don't even know who called, they called months ago.
yeah.
I didn't know if it was Asplund or Eversource, so, but they'll call again, I'm sure.
oh, yeah. What-
Yeah, a little bit strung out, that one fell by the wayside, and that's okay. Sherry, did the selectmen act on our formal request for 91A training? I sent a letter to the selectmen.
I
Dropped it
don't
in
know that-
Naomi's mailbox.
Naomi had it, you brought up the 91A training.
Yeah, I asked her for available dates.
Mhm.
Do we have a, do we,
She's given.
is there anything in the works? Is there,
Yeah, she's
Yeah.
got 2 dates, that's all she's got for November. But the board wants to invite it to all board members, meaning your board, planning board, zoning board, board of selectmen. So I have November 2nd or November 28th. Those are the only 2 dates she had for November. If that doesn't work, I can go to December. But the board felt that it should be everybody, not just conservation.
When in December, was it early?
No, I said I didn't go to
Oh, you
December.
didn't, okay.
She had 2 available.
Is that at night?
Yes, has to be a night, because all the other boards are invited as well.
Yeah.
It's an off night from anybody. So there's nobody in this room.
So when all the boards are together, do you have to post that because we're all together? Okay, it's just like a training,
Yeah, so
Yeah.
That's the training thing.
yeah.
They want it to be recorded,
Oh, really?
yeah, so
Okay.
that we
Any
can
number
reference.
you watch?
So, I mean, whoever, I don't know how I'll set up the room, but she'll be doing it.
So if we had like specific questions related to an ongoing issue, so you, I guess you can't really take that on
It's
public.
general training.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
That's what the board wanted to do, but they wanted to do it townwide for all the boards.
Mm.
So I've sent out a request, they'll find out Monday night that it's 11/2 or 11/28. If they wanna go to December, I'll have to ask for December dates.
28's better for me, I don't agree.
Yeah,
Too.
yeah,
28,
yeah.
Better for you, or you don't care?
I don't know. Is that Thanksgiving?
that's after
No,
Thanksgiving.
it's after Thanksgiving, the week
The
after.
last Tuesday of the month,
Thanksgiving falls,
Tuesdays
what,
are usually good.
24th,
That should be fine.
23rd.
3rd?
So the 28th is a consensus better for you guys?
Yeah, I
It is
think
for
so.
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, I would think so.
sounds like it.
Yeah.
But with all due respect, I mean, we're the ones who are facing it, so give us some status, guys, please.
It's close.
You know, I appreciate it, that it ought to be, but, it's good now to know, if I could know a little bit sooner,
Mhm.
that would be appreciated, that it at least is received and being considered.
I believe it's 6:30 as well. Because it's gonna be a 2-hour training, so you do the 7 to 9, and you know how it's like after you reach a certain time of night.
You
Yeah,
have
we're there.
Cookies and like cider and stuff for us, or?
Do what?
It's getting late. I said,
John Champy
cookies
did that
and
once,
cider.
cookies and cider, yeah.
Are we gonna try to do it here? 6:30, she said.
Well, it's provisional, we're,
Mm.
no,
It's just, right now, it's still up, I gotta try to get everybody to agree with.
yeah.
Will all the boards fit in here at once? I guess so.
I'm wondering if we'd just do it like at the town hall or something, or,
Let's take those discussions elsewhere, we're gonna move on here, guys. Thank you, Naomi. All right, and we all got the answer to the next question regarding our town email and what we need to
Okay,
do.
but I'm not done with Meadows End, I still have nothing. The attorney told our attorney that the conservation has all the records.
Mm-mm.
So what do I do? That's hanging us out to dry here.
So what do we, which one are we responding to, the second one or the first one? And,
Well, they're looking for the bids, that's the only thing I got left.
yeah, okay,
And then there was a request from Jeremy to have their attorney talk to our attorney. I asked the selectmen and they gave it a time frame. And then the two of them have connected, so Laura said, when you get the stuff, I wanna review it to make sure there's nothing that needs to be redacted. And I said, okay, I'll let you know when it gets here. And she said, well, wait a minute, I was told that you already had it. So I'm not sure.
I'm not understanding what's going on with that, because nothing's been presented to me
Let's, yeah,
in saying, hey, here, in response to this request, here's our stuff. I don't,
because he
I don't
was
know
part-
what that, I don't know what that
He was
means.
part of the email chain about the bid request tabulations or whatever, and then it was a while, because he was gone, and then he sent one back and said, we'd like you to talk to our attorney. So with the policy, I have to ask, so I asked if our attorney could talk to him, and they gave him a time frame. So, I'm not sure.
I don't know why that kicks back to the commission, honestly.
Well, I'm
To
just
say the
saying,
commission
I
already has
thought
it, just
said
sa-
You already, you
yeah.
had the information,
No, we
that's
don't
all I'm
have it.
asking. If you don't have it, then I'll go back to the attorney and tell him we don't have it.
No, we have the, all we got,
You guys
Recently.
sent me all your emails, I'm all set.
yeah, just, the only thing we've got now that Andy just pulled out was the FY 23, the actual signed by
Forestry
both
Service
parties, forestry services agreements
agreements.
for FY 23. That's
No,
all,
these are the bid, the ones that you put out the bid for the last 10 years.
no, we don't have that.
We don't.
We only have this year's,
Okay.
and that's, you already got that spreadsheet with this year's.
I don't know, it's becoming puzzling.
No, everybody has the one from the springtime or whenever that was
Yeah.
with Felch.
Yeah.
Right, that's the only one I've ever seen.
We don't, no.
The other ones got, yeah, I don't even know if they got presented, but they got them, or they should
I don't-
have
Well,
them.
that's what I'm saying, all they're asking is to see the bids for the last 10 years.
10 years.
And I know we talked about it, and I know it was always done through them and done, that's why the right to know request.
Do we know from the RSA on record retention,
I'd have to look up the RSA. how long
yeah,
it
like
is.
how many years do we know Kidden have to have?
Yeah, there is an RSA for every department, yeah. I mean,
Right.
there's one RSA in the list, everybody's.
Yeah, so, I mean, if you wanna call me, or once I get that email sent up, I'll send you an email, and I can hound them just to see, I mean, let's see like what the RSA says, no kidding, that we have to have, and then we'll get that from them. You know, if it says 2 years, 3 years,
No.
Okay.
cause I'd heard the same thing you did about the lawyer to lawyer discussion, and I didn't know where that's at, so.
That made sense, actually. It was one of the first things that made a little bit of sense, and I thought, all right, then they can resolve that. And then to have it kicked back to,
The resolve was, he turned everything over to conservation, and I'm like, I don't think so, I haven't seen anything.
Yeah, no.
it's poison, I tell you. All right. Does that address your needs on that one, Naomi?
Yeah, as clear as it gets.
Yeah, lovely. All right,
6:30 this morning till now, it's been all day.
indeed. Early bird deadline for the New Hampshire Association of Conservation Commission's annual meeting is, well, October 17th part doesn't sound right.
No, it should be the 20th.
What day is it?
Sorry about that, folks. I did the minutes on the 17th, or did this last edit yesterday, probably. No, I didn't. Anyways, it's this Friday. So, in the past, and it has been a long time, if anybody wants to attend the meeting, we will, as a commission, sponsor you from our budget for the attendance fee or
Where
what
is-
have you.
Where is that?
The high school in Pembroke is where it's been lately.
Hmm.
And Pembroke Academy, exactly. And they have all sorts of sessions. It's one of these things where you go around the different classrooms and pick which thing you want to learn about. And it's 45 minutes on what is an easement, or what are the obligations of a conservation commission, or how to use GIS, or what do you think about, climate change, or whatever. All sorts of different things that you can bone up on, and they have a pretty good roster of instructors and lecturers to teach. And I've been to a couple of them, and if anybody wants to go to the New Hampshire Association of Conservation Commission's website and let us know you went, and we'll pay for your fee if that helps.
The meeting's actually a Saturday, so if you want.
It is, it's an all-day Saturday meeting, yeah. I think they even provide a lunch, if I remember right. Don't quote me on that.
On
All right.
Friday, it's Saturday, right?
It's a Saturday deal, November 4th. All right, now we need to help out our town finance officer. So we need to get our budget proposal our town operating budget to Beth by Friday. Years past, we have said, hey, let's carry forward with the existing one into the next year, move on. Any given year, like right now, we could say, well, you know, that budget line doesn't speak to us, let's do away with it, and maybe, depending on how the selectmen respond to our request, maybe it's done away from. We could say we need another budget line to deal with a new need. And sometimes those go through. So I will now attempt to share with you what our operating budget is. So we have a line for wages and transcription. With that, a line for Medicare and a line for FICA. Then we have a line for training or seminars, a line for dues. We do have annual dues for the New Hampshire Association of Conservation Commissions. I'm not sure they sent me one this year, so I don't think it shows as being paid, but maybe they did. Then we have a line for mowing, we have a line for office supplies, and a line for communications. Our approved budget this year was $853, which would be our default if we don't suggest something going forward. To date, we have authorized expenses of $40 against our operating budget. And,
We just put 500 on
well, you're right, and that, what I'm saying is we've got room in our operating budget for up to that amount. So it's 853 minus 40. So 813 is more than 500, that's why we say, sure, let's tag the operating budget for the little field mowing. So Naomi, within this structure, we have a new expenditure that we have envisioned for supporting these commission member town emails. Do we have a number for that we have a, well, did we change it? We used to have, we no longer have a technology line. We used to. Oh, you call it communications, yeah, it still fits under that. And the approved budget on that is $150. Do we anticipate needing more than $150 a year to support the town's maintenance of emails for the commission members?
Yes.
What's the magic
There's
number?
7 of you. It'll be 5, 6, 7, right? Sherry's paid for.
Yeah.
and the town.
And why wouldn't we have it for an alternate, or would you?
I'm just saying, there's 5. Ray makes the 5th one, Sherry's already paid for it. So 1, 2, 3, 4, Ray makes 5, 6, 7, 7
Seven.
times 12 months a year times $6. It's $504.
So let's propose,
Under communication?
under communications, instead of for,
She could create a line if you wanted to just say email. She can add a line. It would just show 000 and then proposed at 504. It just makes it
Yep.
more transparent.
that would be good. Can we,
I can't remember what it's called in the other budgets, but
okay, so that's an addition
504.
504 to 853. So that is not proposing the elimination of any existing operating budget, but an addition of $504 for these emails.
You wanna take it to 53 and add double floor, is that what you want?
That's what I'm looking to my fellow commissioners for. Does that seem like it?
Do we need the communication line?
Well, no, we were gonna I'll just have her put the line that we have in other lines for emails.
I'm saying, can we take whatever that we had for communication, well, the 104, subtract that from,
Oh, then you're looking
504.
at an increase of 400.
Well, that's in currently at 150.
150, so
Okay.
if we eliminated the communication line.
So you're gonna increase it by 354. So your bottom line would be 1207.
Or maybe not eliminate the communication line, but put a 0 for this year, or, whatever, next year we can add it if we need to.
This to tell you how long I've been on the commission. One of my first approaches to that was
Leave
a
$1, I know.
was a calling card
Yeah,
for
I
conservation business when I started out here.
You could leave $1 in the line.
If
So
you think it's
holds it open.
appropriate to have it open, yeah, right.
So communication will be $1. And then 504, so you're gonna go up to 1208.
I'd like to make a suggestion for consideration. Based on this whole recent debacle, I've kind of long said it'd be nice to join whatever century we're in here. What about getting the cloud, just the same company as cloud services, just to put our files, have a cloud, pay them for a cloud location, so we're compliant with the RSA on records. We've got an official location to stick that stuff.
I think that's a town response, I think that's above us, I think that's a town responsibility to have a repository for every board, for every,
Yeah,
But they're not
I don't
doing
think
it.
that's, I
Well, if you
know.
get town emails, it's gonna stay on our server anyway.
That is, but I'm saying that,
Does the server have any other functions besides the
Well,
email?
we've changed servers, we finally got up to, it's 2034. I don't know, I just.
But there's not
I
one.
personally never trust the cloud, because I figure the cloud's gonna die someday.
yeah, I mean, right, so we don't have like hard copy, like, forest management
No,
plans, everything's electronic.
There's a place called Document Management, and they've always tried to come in here, but it costs money. I mean, we'd love to get everything digitized.
Well, that's what I'm saying, so we could kind of be the guinea pigs and, because we wouldn't need a really big amount of data on a cloud service, it would be relatively small. To have someone, because, you and I leave, people leave, you get all this, at least, some stuff will be on a town email, but it's not like, we're not going down there and putting stuff in that file cabinet anymore. We haven't done it in 5 years, and that's biting us in the butt right now. Because if you remember, I can remember back to some discussions here with Meadowson, the idea was for them to actually do that for us, and now that's kind of blown up, that didn't work out, where they were supposed to keep or we wanted them to start keeping all of the documents, but, we're finding out now.
Well, that was great until contention.
Yeah, but I still feel like we're not compliant. No, but we're kind of clueless we're still kind of, at least I'm personally clueless on the RSA on how long different things need to be retained. So like, Maureen's keeping the official minutes, right? We know that.
They have to stay forever.
Right, right, per the RSA, but like the contracts that, I think I almost read somewhere that it's like till the contract is done, was about it. And then, forest management plans, it really is good to keep those in perpetuity so that like future generations can see what led into whatever they're dealing with, 100 years from now. And that's not gonna happen if we don't have somewhere to store it. And we're getting away from paper, but we're not securing this stuff anywhere.
Yeah, I guess my only point is I think that's speaking towards the future, that's the town's responsibility to have that. I don't know that we should be even managing that type of repository, you get what I'm saying there? So would we just pass it down chairman to chairman to be responsible for that storage?
I think that's a good idea.
You think that's a good idea?
No, I don't.
I don't think that's a good idea
No.
either.
Well,
No, I don't.
well, so it's no different than the file cabinets that aren't getting used. Those were our responsibilities.
They were.
Nobody from this town has ever asked us what we're filing, what we're not filing, you know, in the 20 years I've been at it.
No, Pat, when he started, Pat used to be in those all the time.
File cabinet's still downstairs.
Yeah.
Yeah, and since they moved downstairs, some of us remember them upstairs, but since they
Yeah.
moved, we've been in there a grand total of 10 times probably.
Less than that,
Do
yeah.
I still have a key? I don't know.
It's in the mailbox.
Yeah, there it is, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Well,
I'm not disagreeing that it's necessary and should already exist, but just the responsibility of it, I think is what I'm speaking to.
Right,
And
I mean,
and if the only way it's gonna happen is that we are responsible for it, then, you know,
I think it is.
it is what it is, but I don't think that's how it should go.
Well, I mean,
Naomi, who takes care of the planning board and zoning? Where's all those files?
In the building department, because that's where everything goes.
in a paper file, right?
Paper.
Yeah.
What they've done is they take the jacket and they've color coded, so the building permits to it is one color, zoning board, planning board's another color, deeds that we get for transfers is another color, complaints is another color, there's like 5 colors.
And Board of Selectmen, information and software is all that stored.
I try to scan everything and keep it on a server, because I have a scanner, Beth has a scanner. But it's only for, you know, we have the big plotter downstairs for the plans, but it's time. I've been
Well-
scanning everything that I do, because it then stays on the server.
Yeah, I mean, if it's not, so the thing about the cloud is that theoretically that's backed up somewhere, you know, in multiple spots. I mean, if that, do you know, does that server back up? You know, that's the whole problem, yeah, so.
It is.
So can we remotely access the server to dump our stuff in there?
This wouldn't need to be scanned or anything, it'd just be, here's a PDF
You're
that
talking
needs to.
way above my head, I know nothing about the server.
So server's just a
Other than
drive.
I hit the save button, it stays.
So
Yeah.
Can you save whatever you want to save to the server? If,
I save it under me,
so it's under you,
Yeah.
okay.
and then I have a ton of folders under my name in the server.
Right.
I mean, my basic server deal is, you know, we have each workstation is its own thing, and it backs up to the server. And then there's a remote backup, there's an off-site backup that we have.
But we have an offsite.
Yeah, so, I mean, it could be very simply that there could be another user,
Mhm.
Conservation Commission, and then Conservation Commission can save, and you can't access anything else.
Mhm.
And nobody else, unless they got permission, can access that data.
You only
But
have
they could,
access to that
they
folder.
could easily make us a user to be able to back up to the town information.
If an external computer can the way it's set up from a security perspective, if they allow,
Yeah.
you know, off the hard network access into it.
Now then you gotta
Well, that's,
set up a VPN to make sure you're hitting and clean and,
Well, if they already have all that, right? Versus if
but
you
you
go
have a
right to the
workstation
cloud.
here,
Yeah, or
you
have
know,
it dumped in.
we can just, I don't know,
Beginning or end of a meeting, just
Yeah.
upload what needs to be uploaded.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, how do we like have a
virtual
discussion
way
with
of-
an IT person about?
What?
We need to have a discussion with the IT person for the
Yes.
town to say, hey, you know, we wanna be able to electronically store this stuff in perpetuity. Is that just these people here, Naomi?
That's our vendor, yeah.
I mean, is it free to talk to them? Just ask them that
Nothing's
question.
free.
Tech support.
Get a line.
Well, get your help with the email and then say, well, I got you.
Yeah.
But nothing can be committed to without running by the selectmen, because we have a contract with them for a certain amount of things. I think the contract's up in 24. Then we go into bidding it.
Hmm.
But I don't understand technology, so if it doesn't work, I might pitch it, you know, that's my answer.
I was just thinking, for the amount of cloud data that we would really need, and we're probably under the purchase policy amount, if we were, acquiring it separately.
But then that's the access. If you guys aren't here anymore or whatever, how is it accessed?
We must,
The
if
town
somebody
will own it.
leaves, it's,
What?
The town would own it.
But the town needs to set it up with us to have access, because we can't set it
You
up.
go in the proposed budget, it's just a defaultable item, just like.
Yeah.
You can propose it,
Why don't we throw it in there, you don't have to use it, if it doesn't.
and if the budget doesn't pass, you don't have it. Cause it won't go in default.
So you're saying add that as a budget line?
Yeah, I mean, that was a suggestion, but, I guess whatever Andy wants to do, or you guys want to do.
And that's because we need to have this in by Friday, right?
Right.
I just don't love adding money to a budget, that's all. When I
Well, the
can
thing
see
is,
it.
we need a little bit more.
Right, because you say, your budget's gone up 530%.
Yeah, but
What are you
We
doing?
need to get a little bit more into what it is we need,
Right.
what's available, and what would it cost. I mean, right now, by Friday, there's no way we can get any of that information down and do it, and see if it's even available through the town, or what it would take, and then we have to go through the board of selectmen to,
You can propose whatever you wanna propose on the budget, doesn't mean it's gonna.
yeah, but we don't know what it is without talking to somebody.
Yeah.
And it wasn't cheap
Talk
for
to
me.
three IT people and have different plans, so.
Exactly.
If you wanna put something in there for storage, put a number on it.
It really can't be that much for,
To set it up independently though, it may be, the adding
Yeah.
a user to something that already exists is a lot cheaper than becoming a
Creating
new
something,
member.
yeah.
Yeah, there's just a flat rate that they'll charge just for being a customer, and I couldn't put a number on it, but I know it's not, cheap.
it's like,
In a
a
sense.
I mean, so for instance, Dropbox is free, right?
Mhm.
And that's probably holds more than we
Then
need
we
for a
would
couple
up
of
it.
years, but.
Sure, but what's the
Google
security
Drive.
on that?
Yeah, huh?
What's the security on that?
Well, these are all public documents, right, you just wanna make sure it doesn't get lost, that it's
Correct,
backed up.
You
Yeah.
know,
All
so,
hacked into though, you need to have some protection.
Yeah.
Right.
You had the Peterborough incident, they hacked into their digital files and, files and,
Everything about it.
yeah.
Don't wanna get any conservation, tracking.
All right, I got a little bit of a mystery solved, but anybody want to know what the Association of Conservation Commission topics are for their deal? Going once, going twice?
You can look it up
Done.
online.
You can? All right, so I have a statement here, just showed up in a timely fashion in our mail dated October 5th, saying, yes, guess what? You did not pay your 2023 dues yet of $450, and next year's are $475. So, I would suggest we adjust our budget line for dues. Try again, move that to 475,
yeah, cause we adjusted that last year.
and it didn't stick, yeah. We got it in there at 450. So let's move the proposed 2024 for dues to 475. So I think we were now saying, with what we've mentioned so far, that we're at 1,233, is that right?
I had 1208 before you started.
1208 plus 25 is 12, 33. So we want to increase that by $25. And I don't think we have consensus on
Storage.
what we would throw in for a number on off-site or cloud storage. Unless Steve wants to propose a dollar amount.
Well, that's fine.
All right, so let's table the idea. And anybody have anything else that should be operating budget worthy? We've got the huge question that's still not answered, but what and how would we retain legal advice for the Conservation Commission? Let's say, for instance, there's something that another entity in town is saying Conservation Commission should do, must sign, and we say, no, we don't think so. Because why? Well, because our, legal counsel says we shouldn't. And it's not legal. If we're involved in purchasing property, we can retain legal assistance on that out of the conservation fund. But if it's some other item not explicitly described in 36A, we can't use conservation fund for it. And it's terribly difficult to get legal advice, especially if it is, the selectmen say, we've got this authority, and we look at this statute and say, I don't think so, I don't think so. So I don't know, how do we solve that riddle? Because you could easily, and that's the whole problem of it, you could easily amass great expenses.
Well, it's a pretty rare thing that we would need additional legal advice. So why don't you put a line in there for a small amount?
We could add a line. Do you have any appetite for that amongst the commissioners?
What's the small amount? $500 an hour, $400 an hour, whatever they're getting,
I don't know. I don't know what the town pays for legal advice per hour.
Does the New Hampshire Association of Conservation Commission have, no, that would come back to the RSA, right?
I do not believe there's any resources within the New Hampshire Association towards that question. General municipal law, we can get assistance from whatever, I forget what it's called, the municipal or local government assistance.
Over in Concord.
Yeah, and they have 2 attorneys. And they can help with general questions of town boards and commissions. Not the general public, but, so there is a potentially untapped resource there, but that would only be for the sort of general questions, not the sort of thing where we feel in some sort of legal jeopardy and, need representation, God forbid. But it happens.
I'm gonna suggest there is no answer to your question.
So I'll stop asking it.
Yeah, it's either the Board of Selectmen authorized legal representation, it's something related to the conservation, to 36A, that the conservation fund can be used, or SLL.
That might just be the fundamental bottom line.
You're not gonna put a $10,000 annual attorney's budget for conservation, people
Well,
on the roof.
As uncomfortable it is, especially at a late hour, frankly, it's something I've been wrestling with too much the last few months, and frankly, sometimes this commission could be asked to sign off on, frankly, illegal activity, and I don't want to be part of that. And it might be, like you say, Steve, a question that has no answer, but it's a position that has no comfort, that's for sure. All of that being said, folks, we comfortable with proposing a budget of $1,233
Yes.
for 2024? So I will fill out a sheet for Beth, and it should, well, mirror what Naomi would expect, so I will CC Naomi when I send that out. If, Naomi, you notice anything that doesn't square from what we talked about tonight? You got the magic wand? And get that to Beth by Friday. The other things, I mentioned that. We did get a reminder from LSIP regarding easement monitoring. And that would be something that I would love to have some new volunteer spirit to look at that and maybe participate in completing some monitoring forms. And new blood, maybe you can help us invigorate our response to these things that require, here's a form, here's a property. Do you see anything that are worrisome, or can you just check, say we looked at it, look in good shape, and send it on? So don't let me forget about that. We'll, once we get you at the table, talk about some things that might be interesting to you guys and beneficial. Let's see, we did on the mail get a permit by notification for forestry, tax map 401, lot 39. To property owner Gerald Brown of Upper Cove, Maryland. So, looks like somebody's having some forestry done. And I think the last thing is we did, as Naomi mentioned earlier, receive a forwarded email with some pictures of trees flagged along the driveway into the landing on the Eastman Conservation Area Town Forest, with the note saying the property owner has flagged trees for removal due to the need to install utility poles. I don't know, that sounds very legit to me. And the pictures show, for instance, a tree that has a conservation placard on it, little diamond sign, saying, we want to cut this tree down.
Yeah, there's two that were marked like that.
Yeah, I'm very curious.
My only thoughts were there's no action for us to take at the moment, because nothing illegal had happened. You know what I mean there? We could send a letter saying, don't cut these trees down, if you think that's appropriate, but.
And that would be a letter to a property owner who has purchased property elsewhere, but still owns this property.
And that's without, you know, if we were to go that route, I'd wanna talk to that property owner and get both sides of the story as well.
Where's
Same-
this?
This is along the driveway into the log landing at the south end.
Is this the second house lot that's going in?
Well, the lot's already there.
The lot's there, it's,
Yeah.
they want to build.
Apparently, the word is that they're no longer going to build because they purchased elsewhere, already built.
Oh.
But the neighbor says they put flagging on saying that they intend to cut trees for utility pole.
Oh, they can't cut trees.
Well,
So it's conservation property.
yeah, hold on, though. I mean, so it's one of these, like, more complicated things. So that, there was some argument apparently about there's already Low bush blueberry that got cut, or high bush blueberry that got cut?
Blueberry tree, I haven't yet seen a blueberry tree, but it sounds,
High-
it
must
sounds
be
intriguing.
High bush.
Sounds, yeah, high bush, yeah.
High bush. So, went ahead and looked, I feel like this came up when it went to ZBA, but then I went ahead and looked at the deed. So that lot has a right-of-way on our property, for access and egress.
The second lot, the unbuilt lot,
So the problem is,
that we've had trouble with their stuff spilling onto our conservation town property,
well, that was a previous owner.
same lot.
Same lot. And, so the question ends up being, again, this is a Laura question, and this is where we get into the issues. There isn't any language in, so you gotta look at like, when this was all conveyed to whatever. So the owner that sold it to the previous people, they foreclosed on it, went back to them, they went and ahead and resold it, so the people that have that flagged out. And it seemed like an email that said they were gonna put the power line in and then try to sell it with the power line in. So whether or not the right to access and egress and have that lot in there, there's not a separate utility easement. And so do we have the right to just say, no, you can't cut that, you don't have that right? And then, as a town, like, what's really fair there, and so you have to figure out what their rights are. You're gonna need an attorney to figure out what their rights are. And then, like, would we let them cut the trees and run a line through there? And, cause like,
That requires improving that road, and then where does that happen? Because that's, for them to cut that amount of trees to put in a power line, that's an improvement of that road.
no, putting power poles in, so I don't know about Eversource, but,
There were a lot of trees that got tagged.
oh, I know, yeah, mow the trees down, but that's got to do with Eversource's, rules for their
Yeah.
distance from the actual, the power line, that's all that is. So like, I know, I can only speak of dealing with this in Maine, but their rules up there were for a utility, for a line that the utility was gonna be responsible for, they have to be able to get a truck to it, which they clearly can. I mean, you can get a bucket truck to that whole
Sure.
thing. So they'll end up mowing all those trees down, and everything within, however many feet, I think it's probably 8 feet from the line or whatever. And, so that's kind of our issue, right, is like, is that right inherent with that lot somewhere, is it hidden? Cause it didn't look like it was in
No.
the,
I don't think so.
well, you need, so, yeah, we would basically need to draft a letter saying, we don't think you've got the right to do this. And then, I'm surprised like Eversource would, cause those poles would be on our property, so if Eversource, you think they would wanna, they'd come
They'd
to
have to
us
have an
with
easement to do that.
utility easement.
Yeah.
Yep.
You'd think they would know that, but I don't know if they'll screw up. Like in Maine, I end up having to deal with a neighbor to get a pole, like a counter pole, and have an easement to hold up my line. So,
I don't know where that last pole is going into that first house. If the pole is right there near their driveway?
I don't know. I don't get, good
Because
enough.
I don't know why they'd have to cut a whole bunch of trees down, because that lot isn't very far. I mean, there's I think a stone wall there, and the lot's right there.
Well, the 13.8 is coming down the road, right? And then you got a transformer, and then the drop on the triplex goes into the house. So the 13.8 is probably on the driveway, not, so you would still need to run that extra distance.
Yeah, but you're talking one pole,
No, not with air, no way. That's pretty far,
really?
yeah,
I guess I gotta ride back up there and look.
yeah. So that's kind of our problem, is like, what inherently, yeah, that's a really good distance, actually. You can only measure on Google Earth, right, not on Google Maps.
How, you looking at the last pole before you get to that house?
Trying to, but just even where the house is, they're just kind of. Cause they go, what, a pole every, 200 or 300 feet. And there'll be a couple poles and, then their clearance distance to the actual lines. So ideally, we'd ask the town attorney to research that situation and provide recommendation on how to deal with it. And, it might behoove us to contact Mike and Cherry and say, hey, why don't you guys hold off on cutting any of these trees? Because we don't see this, we're checking into it. She was actually our minutes taker for a while. I don't know if anybody remembers that.
Oh, she was.
Yeah.
A few years ago.
I don't know how many years ago that was.
I think it was early on when I came on the board, she was here.
Yeah. I don't know, do we know how to get a hold of them, Naomi?
I don't, all you can is probably send it to the old address and then we forward it, I don't know where they are.
Oh, we don't have like emails or phone numbers or anything?
No.
He's got a company, it can't be that hard to find.
I don't know if they still live in town or not, I don't know. I don't know if their house sold or fell through.
Steve, would you be willing to see and if there's any way to contact the property owner?
Yeah.
They must have an address in the office in here if it's taxable property. They gotta have an address.
Bills
in
will be
here.
out soon.
Right, Naomi?
What's that?
If people own that that parcel,
Yeah, I checked the house on, the mail goes to Beaver Pond, that's where they had the house for sale. I don't know, I mean, my understanding, the intent was to sell Beaver Pond and build a smaller house, but I don't know, I don't talk to them. Yeah, see, they still listed as 90 Beaver Pond.
All right, folks, we busted past the drop dead time of our bylaws, which says,
Yeah, way past.
what is it,
what is it?
10:30, I think, yeah.
10, I thought it was 10.
And it's been a while.
Motion to adjourn then.
You want to just try to give him a call?
Second.
Conservation, Mr. DuBois, I think his name, Glenn DuBois wants to trap. This came in the mail, it's left on my desk. Over at Gene Woods's.
Right. When does that season open?
I have no clue. I think it got left here for last meeting.
We didn't get to it.
He dated it September 22nd, so it was probably here for last week, but,
Why don't we just sign it? There's nothing to really,
yeah,
I
cause
never had a
usually,
problem with the guy.
usually
Yeah,
Ann
passed.
signs it, and then the selectmen sign it, and then you get a report of what he trapped.
All right, we're gonna agree that I'll sign that and send it along. Okay. So the trapping. Request of Glenn DuBois, or however he says it. And that's for the wood
He's got,
Family.
conservation land off Melvin Valley and Bolton Field.
The Wood Family Town Forest, yep. And the commission says, Andy, sign it. We'll move it on to the selectmen as usual. Thank you. All right, I got a motion to adjourn. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right. Sherry, second. We adjourn at 10:50.
All those in favor?
All those in favor, say aye.
He wants to really get going.
Don't shut it off yet.